Volkswagen or Skoda? In this extensive comparison test review, we're going to compare the individual vehicles which sit on the same platform, starting with VW Tiguan versus Skoda Kodiaq, and VW Passat versus Skoda Superb, and VW Golf versus Skoda Octavia. Especially here to consider that the Golf variant, the Estate, is the direct competitor, and VW T-Roc versus Skoda Karoq, then VW Taigo, which is also similar to the VW T-Cross, versus the Skoda Kamiq, and at the end of the day we're also going to pick a very favorite, which one would I pick overall, and how do I see it in general, VW against Skoda. So which one would you pick? Watch these extensive comparison, and then later on let's discuss in the comments. Let's go.
Here now in the new generation, the Tiguan wants to set a new mark and saying, hey, I'm top of the segment here. But is it really true? We'll find out with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the all-new Tiguan generation. Different trims, different engine versions we drive today as well. And here you can see this one is the R line. There's a lot of sporty accentuations going on in the lower part, high gloss black and this mesh front grille. And we have here as a comparison the elegance. This is the other top trim, more this horizontal focus, more chrome styling. So yeah, a little bit more elegant approach. And the base version would be closer to this than it would be to this one. Here the R-Line also has more high gloss black all over the vehicle. And in general, the styling, before the Tiguan was more like, I would say a little bit more, angular and so on, now more round shapes to improve aerodynamics. So it went down from 0.33 to 0.28 in the CD value, which is good. CD value always better when it's lower. Not necessarily in the 20-inch wheels, R-Line and so on. This is worse aerodynamics wise, but the overall aerodynamic form has really massively been improved. You have these air curtains here, air going through here and here, going through the wheel arches. Then also a more round hood. Then here it's closed actually. This whole light area is closed, you can see. And more aerodynamic optimizations across the vehicle. And you can also see that here this light integration, it starts here. Then there's the light strip. The illuminated VW logo, not yet. It will follow later. They couldn't get it ready for the Tiguan when it was launched right now. But then it will come at a later stage. And the light logic is you have a base headlamp, already LED, then you have a higher performing LED, and this one is the optional matrix LED, so-called IQ light for best high beam performance. And then you also have the cascading turning indicators, both in the front and in the rear. Oh, and Leah found some Easter eggs. Look at that from the outside, hard to see just when you have the hand behind it. There we go. There's the tiger. You could also better see it from the inside. Aww. And the other side has an iguana. So cute, but why is that? And the reason for that is that Tiguan is a combination, the name of tiger and iguana. Tiger, iguana, Tiguan. I think it's nice to implement that gimmick. And now the most important thing is, it's not an option. It's not only in the R-Line or in the elegance. It's even in the base trim. That's something special for Volkswagen, right? Major step forward also as for the noise insulation. The soundproof front windshield is standard, and then option you can get an acoustic package. And here at the side windows, front and rear, we have then the dual insulation also equipped with our test cars today. 4.54 meters or 179 inches is the length of the new Tiguan, just slightly longer than the previous generation. This one here, the elegance version, or also the base trim, would have the matte wheel arches here. Wheels from 17 to 20 inch. These ones here are 19-inch wheels in this rather closed aerodynamic design. Then more of this matte cladding here all around. But already here in the elegance, you have this shiny frame trim around the windows. And you can see this is more or less a conservative design. You have a dropping line right here. More form follows function that you have space on the interior. But now coming to the R-Line, if we move over to our second vehicle, you can see more high gloss black. For example, around the wheel arches. These ones are also the optional 20-inch wheels. with the R-Line. 19 would be standard, 20 then also optional for the R-Line. Here in the black styling, the most sinister styling R-Line badge. Once again, the closed look right here and aerodynamic optimizations here. They make the car longer here, also with the top spoiler, so the wind can better flow away right there. That makes so much difference. Also here, see these edges right here? This is also optimization for aerodynamics, and it's actually even more important that the car is not getting pulled from the wind in the rear than how much it pushes in the front. So rear aerodynamic optimization is actually the most important thing. Very interesting. Elegance here, the matte, more plastic styling with the chrome accentuation, whereas we have in the R-Line once again high gloss black and this meshed grille structure once again for the sportier, more sinister look. And not sure if you can really see that, but the R-Line top spoiler here is even a little bit longer. So although the R-Line in general is worse as for aerodynamics, this longer spoiler would be then a little bit better. Oh, very important, by the way, this middle light strip, and also later when the logo is illuminated, will also be active while driving when it's dark and the main headlamp unit is also on. Pretty cool, right? Technology-wise is actually the biggest news, the DCC. We have both vehicles here equipped with that, the diesel we're driving later as well. DCC has been upgraded to a DCC Pro that now employs a 2-valve system, so it's more elaborate and can rule more between comfort and sportiness. And even in the infotainment system, you can not only choose presets, but also individually rule that. Here, this new central knob, either manual volume adjustment, that's good, would work when having music running, and then you press it, and then you can either have here the driving mode selection directly, comfort, sport, and so on, so easy to select while driving. You can also slide in this one here, and then select the ambient lighting moods. Not sure if it's necessary to have that here, but yeah, it's an interesting function for sure, like this. So, and then you see what you are selecting, but you can also go deeper in the menu, and then here with the individual modes, this is just information, but here with the individual mode I can have more settings, and then you can also individualize this DCC setting from minus to plus. This is the most comfortable one, this is the sporty ones, and the interesting thing is it's not only here then. So when you, for example, set it here, it rules between approximately this spectrum. When you have it here, it's like in this spectrum. So it's always plus and minus, but this is kind of like the preset. However, I personally recommend rather a comfortable setting to have an elaborated ride. Still, we'll find out more when we drive the vehicle. Key fob, high gloss black, not my favorite. Door closing sound, VW is always famous for that. And here, it's also good. Nothing super special, but good overall. Here inside, this is like a bright trim. The R-Line would be darker. Deco element is already right here. I love the door inside handle, which is in this matte silver trim actually. And what's actually quite cool here, at the inside we have felt covering at the inside door pockets. Elegance trim with the Elegance entry badge. Also here the normal steering wheel with real buttons on the steering wheel. So they have returned to real buttons for all versions actually. VW says they want to use more real buttons again. Good decision. Also we here, our community in Autogefühl has massively influenced that. And then the R-Line steering wheel would have here a perforation and also a logo in the lower part. Other than that, the steering wheel is the same. And then these are the ergo active seats. You would start base with fabric seats. Then there are usually microfiber seats for elegance, and this is the optional animal skin trim. Here in the bright styling, you can also get the dark stylings, of course. The thing is that VW in their ID models, in the electric models, go forward and all animal-free and sustainable materials. Whereas in the models with still have combustion engines, they say like, what the hell, we don't care about sustainability. And that is not consistent. Why would you do that? Why are only electric vehicles supposed to be better as for the rest of the materials and the features? I don't get it. This is definitely something to criticize. However, you can get really nice microfiber seats here also for the Tiguan. They perform even better than these ones here. They are softer and more comfortable and more breathable actually. Then here with 189, 6'2", lot of room still above my head. You can also get a panoramic roof still. Steering wheel, menu control, in and out, up and down. So the base ergonomics, are actually really good. You can find a good position also as a tall driver. And Leah has already seen it. Yeah, I saw that with the camera. Here, the switch gear, like in the ID7, forward, reverse, directly here at the steering column. That cleans up the lower middle console where we showed you that new, functionality button. Interior cockpit overview here in this trim is bright here, and also this illuminated trim here with the elegance version. So you have this decor element, Tiguan it says, in the R line it says the R badge, so it looks a little bit different then, but it's only available in the top trim versions actually. Then 13-inch would be standard. This is here the optional 15-inch screen. It's optional for all versions actually. Yeah, typical options policy. The sliders are now illuminated. It's good to have them versus only in the screen, but manual would be better there. In the very, very new generations of the Volkswagen vehicles, the manual climate knobs will be coming back, also thanks to our coverage. Then here you can also directly select the seat cooling, for example. And here the digital instruments behind it. This is covered with the anti-reflective coating that you can better see them. It also has more a matte appearance, I would say. And you can also change, for example, the view in the digital instruments. Sorry for that spontaneous burst of rage. Here, when you have a door opened, then it does not work to change the view. You have to click OK first. Then you can also switch the middle view. Here, for example, also with a full map like this. It's somehow also complicated what you want to have there, because then you have to go back or here to go close again. You can control the inside parts actually. But then you can also go to the outside here on the right. You can go to the left part. I think a little bit over-engineered. I think others could say it's highly customizable. The infotainment system now has this new back and also has more CPU power, for example. And then here, this is also a main menu. You can select the plug-in hybrid, has the static air conditioning. You can even select the zones you want to preheat or pre-cool then. And now where can I adjust the head-up display? Hey Ida, head-up display higher.
You can adjust settings on the screen.
So then it brings me to this menu at least, and I can adjust the position. There we go. And my favorite feature for the head-up display is you can pick this snow mode. So when everything is white, then the number here, the speed turns to blue. I would maybe drive it like this always. Hey Ida. Hey Idaho. Wait, it's hello. Hello Ida. Why do you keep interrupting me?
Oh, that's something I still need to learn.
Yeah, that's what I said, right? Yeah. So yes, the software has become better, definitely, but that's something that sometimes it gets activated and then records everything you're saying here.
Oh, that's something I still need to learn.
Yeah, and then you haven't activated it yourself, but just becomes active by the activation word, and then it's telling you something. So what I usually do, that I deactivate this activation words and I just use the button on the steering wheel then for the input for the voice system. That's usually better with most vehicles. Middle console, space above, and then underneath 2 inductive charging pads. They charge quickly, very nice, and are also cooled, and USB-C charging. So here this lower middle console. You have these sliders here in the front. You can also take them out completely. Then you have the cup holders at this moment far in the back. But does it really make sense? However, you have the choice. You can put this one out. Then,
I don't know how to do that yet.
Okay, well, I know how to do that yet. Then here you can put this one here and put it to the forward position. And I think that would be, there we go, more suitable for bottles in the front. And then,
That's something I still need to learn.
not sure why the voice assistant.
Stop.
Thank you.
Well, you see, this is definitely better now, is it? Rear doors, hard pack. In the front door, it's soft. Here is actually hard pack. Huh? Huh? Well, for that price, I would expect something different. And then here, the rear bench, you can slide it forward or backward. You can also adjust the angle here, like this. Wait a minute. Ah, there we go. So like this, or all the way back. Then the middle part, slide down, and you have yeah, I remember with the static review I had some problems with that as well. So these are the cup holders. Let's say I wouldn't exactly say I'm very convinced of this new mechanism. Let's take it that way. So then here, the other seat, you can see how the angle is varying. There we go. And we can also slide this one forward or backward. And when I'm in the backward position and I'm driving on the passenger seat, what am I talking about? When I'm driving in the driver's seat, that makes sense. Here, there's still a lot of legroom left, no problem. And headroom here with 1A9 or 6'2", also no problem. So it's good offering of space here in the rear. And then we have also USB-C chargers and also seat heating for the rear when this are powered. Trunk and luggage capacity. It's also cool to do it here, 2 in a row, 2 for 1. 650 liters for the normal setup, 475 for the plug-in. But what are the differences here? Normal combustion engine, 1 meter or 40 inches in width. That's the same. The length, 88 centimeters or 34 inches. It's just more luggage capacity because you have more room here in this area. And we also have, for example, you can get a 220 or 230 volt normal plug to fold the seats. Pull this one here left, pull this one here on the right. Why doesn't it fold? Ah, okay. Yeah, that's because the electric seat function that goes automatically back. I'll soon fix that. First of all, here underneath, more space than in the combustion engine version. You can also house a complete replacement tire here, because here, the subwoofer, when you have that option, it is now in this form here, so it leaves space for a replacement tire or for the plug-in hybrid battery. Soon going to show that to you. So you need to put that electric seat more forward that the rear bench can actually fall down. That's the thing with these electric functions. So they automatically go back for comfort seating, and then we go here. This is then the length, and I would be sitting as a tall adult, 170 in meters, that's 67 inches. And now the question is, what about the plug-in hybrid? Let's move over. So on top here, it's the same, just here on the side, because they put the 12 volt starter battery right here in the left. So for the plug-in hybrid, they had to move the fuel tank, and it's right here in this box. Underneath this box, you can find the high voltage battery from the plug-in hybrid. But you can still have some space here for charging cables. So this is then actually the main difference. As for engines, well, I love that dual shot here. Right, always. Then we have a 1.5 TSI, and it's the base engine, 2 horsepower specs. In the 150 horsepower specs, it's around 9 seconds in the acceleration figure. Always MHEV, mild hybrid system, and also the dual clutch transmission 7-speed DSG. On that base of the 1.5 TSI is also the plug-in hybrid version, new with a 20 kWh net battery, 80 kilometers or 50 miles of real-world realistic range. So massively improve the plug-in hybrid electric capacity. It's also important for taxation reasons, for example, especially in Germany. Then there will also be a 2-liter TSI, both with all-wheel drive, and the 2-liter TDI, the diesel, also in 2 horsepower specs. The bigger one we also drive today, 193 horsepower, also with all-wheel drive. The latter one, the big diesel, is then the one with the highest towing capacity at 2.3 tons. The other one, then depending on the engine version, a little bit less. So all of the engine specs have more or less their advantages or disadvantages. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, all new Tiguan, testing different engine versions. Here starting with an all-wheel drive version of the TDI. So 7.7 seconds in the acceleration figure, so a little bit stronger. And let's see how that behaves. From 40 kilometers an hour, we'll accelerate it out. Let's go. Plop, 100. Oh, that even triggered the Leah meter just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, she's used to like really sporty vehicles nowadays. Yeah, so decently quick. And when we're driving in the city and so on, then you hear this typical diesel nailing, we say in Germany. So, yeah, rather unpleasant sound indeed. But here on the motorway, the difference is rather minor. I was also picking up the sport mode. I can go back to the comfort mode, then the RPMs go a little bit lower. And then actually at higher speeds, the difference between the engines is not that relevant, I would say. And here now on the motorway, 1 km an hour, we can also experience the driving assists. Here travel assist is also then upgraded for this vehicle. You set it here, you pick the different mode, travel assist, limiter or ACC, and then you set your speed then also on the steering wheel, and here you set different 10 kilometer steps, and with resume you can set 1 kilometer steps above. Here at the moment 110, and it's really good to have the real buttons back for all versions, so it's easy to press these real buttons then. And let's see how good does it handle. Here also shows me a green steering wheel symbol. That means it's the active lane keeping assist, so the car is doing that semi-autonomously, so it's level 2. And so far, let's see how this car is being centralized quite well. Now there comes like this slight bend in the motorway. Let's see how the steering reacts, if there's any hectic movement and so on. Yeah, that's actually very smooth. Yeah, flawless. That's really good. The steering, indeed, I would like more feedback, but what you can also do is go to an individual mode. And in the individual mode, to do that while driving is a little bit complicated. Here you have to go there, and then you can set the DCC, the adaptive suspension, but you could also put, for example, a soft suspension, but then the steering to a sportier node. And yeah, that's maybe also a good choice then long term to have your personal individual mode. Oh, thank you for the heads up. Interesting overtaking maneuver by the truck. Yeah, but here, good on the brakes, also good reaction from the steering. You don't have to turn the steering wheel that much actually. And what's also really cool here, one click on the assistance systems, I can easily click there, lane assist is deactivated, and also this EU speed warning, I deactivated it in advance even. No one has seen that. So it's really good when you're annoyed by some systems. They need to be on always at start of the vehicle now by just mandatory from the law. So the manufacturers, the only thing they can do is make it easy for you to deactivate them, and that's exactly what they did here. So I think hats off to VW that they... Am I just praising VW for something they have done on the software side? That's a premiere. So yeah, usually it's always that they have great chassis, great suspension and so on, but they were lacking behind in software, and now they're also picking up with the software things and finding good customer-oriented solutions for the software, like here with the deactivating of the assistance systems. So that is actually a good thing to test also while driving, that you know that it's actually easily handleable. What I also feel here on the motorway, so the acoustic windscreen in the front is standard. This one here, by the way, also the one with the heating foil, and I don't see any heating foil. You know, there are two solutions. There are these, like the individual heating lines in there, the old technology. I always see it and it's like, I can't drive that way. Some can, some not. And then this is like this integrated foil, and it looks like there would be nothing. Still, it's a heated front windscreen. The only problem would be if you have polarized glasses on, then you can see some reflect. I think it's still manageable, it still works, but that's the only thing. You could maybe see some, I don't know. I haven't seen it myself yet. Did you? Maybe? I don't know. Oh, now we can drive 130. Let's see, 110 to 130. Oh, I need to get off the motorway actually. But you see here also good on the brakes as well. Nice to put the turning indicator in. Yeah, so it's actually good reaction also from the drivetrain, from the brakes and so on. Overall good feeling. And that was like, always like more than 1 kilometer an hour, more than 60 miles an hour. And the noise insulation is really very good here. So the front windscreen is, we have a beep here. Front windscreen is standard insulated, and this one here is also equipped with the optional insulating pack. So that means then that the side mirrors, the side windows, front and the back also have dual insulation, and we felt that it's really very silent in here. definitely more silent than the previous generation. Then the better aerodynamics that also come together. So that is that's really good, especially for longer motorway trips. Super silent in here. The whole vehicle feels from driving actually really premium. It feels like a premium ride. I love that. What I really want to test, probably the most exciting thing, because we have the new DCC here. So when we go here to the individual settings, and now set really to the most comfortable DCC sitting. So just feel how the individual waves are being evened out. It feels really soft. I mean, it's also a quite good road, but there's some waves in there, but that feels really elaborated, like more upmarket segment. Now let's put to the sportiest setting. The touch driving. Let's go here. Wow, that's notable. Now you feel like these individual bumps in the road way more clearly. That's interesting. Wow. I mean, now of course we have a little bit sportier feedback. Yeah. So here, sportier feedback then. When we go a little bit slalom alike. But now let's do the slalom again with the most comfortable setting. I mean, the slalom reaction is actually quite good in both cases. So I wouldn't say when... Let's do here again. What do you say? Yeah, in slalom reaction it doesn't differ that much. It's more really when you're running over the bumps. That's just like bumpier in the sportier setting, but you have a little bit more feedback from the road. But actually, I would drive with the most comfortable setting, honestly, because the car doesn't feel unsporty from suspension here. It doesn't lean too much in the corners. But then again, it's such a smooth ride. So my tip here definitely would be individual mode, steering to sport, and the DCC all the way to comfort. And then you have a great driving setting here, actually. Now the plug-in hybrid, and I try to do an acceleration electric only. Let's see if I can manage. Well, that was 0 to 50. It could be a little bit quicker, but I want to be gentle because when I use the pin down, then also the combustion engine goes on. But you can see you can even accelerate quite quickly, all electric. This is also the focus of this new plug-in hybrid, that it's more electric than before. Not only with the higher range, the bigger battery and so on. So realistic range around 80 kilometers, always depending on your driving profile from this 20 kilowatt hours net battery. But also in general, smoother and just more silent and less combustion engine. For example, before when I go here to the S shifting mode, usually the combustion engine would hop on, but that's not the case here anymore. And also when you select the driving profile, here from comfort to sport, it also doesn't go on. So before the engine went on, now it doesn't do that, only when you really apply the power. And we can also compare that. So for example, here in the comfort mode, let's see when we hit the throttle, there we go, it's on. But here in the sport mode, the thing is that, there we go, we have more response from the engine as well. And you might always wonder, isn't that bad for the engine when it suddenly hops on at a high RPM? Of course, it's always better not to do that in a way, but sometimes it's maybe needed. So I asked the VW experts what do they actually do as a countermeasure. First of all, like the coating from the inside of the cylinder is a different one. It's a more elaborate, stronger one that helps against possible bad effects on the engine. And also, if the engine is not running, at some point they use then a little bit of oil that's running through the engine to just to give it enough fluid that it doesn't run dry, that you don't have bad effects on the engines then in that respect. So there are some countermeasures as for that, so that you're not get a broken plug-in hybrid engine pretty quickly. But I would recommend to not maybe have the situations frequently, and try to gently push the engine on then. But at some point maybe it is needed for safety reasons and so on, and at least you know that you can theoretically do that. So here also the transitions, they also worked on that the, all electric driving and then the mixed hybrid driving, you also have smoother transitions in between, and you also have better recuperation. So when I hit the brake pedal, its recuperation is also more possible in total than before, and also there the transition is better than before. What's also interesting is that we can change the recuperation levels, but we don't have like a B mode here. This is still the S mode, which is predominantly then for the hybrid driving when the engine is on. So you need to adjust the recuperation modes then in the infotainment system. Yeah, doing that easily while driving is not, it's actually a little bit complicated, to me at least, as for the driver. But we have set here our hotkey, thank you Leah. So she's the best recuperation expert. So exactly. And then Leah can select between low, automatic and high. So lower, it's like I lift the throttle, there's mainly rolling, So and then we have automatic or high, we can start with high. So when I accelerate and then foot off throttle, there's more recuperation. You can also see that in here. It's not exactly a super strong one pedal driving feeling, but it's notable definitely. And automatic, which would be the standard setting, is also checking out like the ACC, is there a car in front of me or not, or also according to the topography changes on the map. That's very interesting. And even more interesting, since they homologated that with the low setting, you can have all of the 3 modes and then restart the vehicle, and you have it in the last mode selected. And that's good because maybe you favor one mode or the other, and then you just stay in that mode. Yeah, at some point you have to recharge 11 kilowatt AC, 50 kilowatt DC peak. So that then will take you 25 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. That is also massively quicker than it was before. So the whole plug-in hybrid system is more usable. You might wonder, why do they employ such a high buffer? Because when I say 20 kilowatt hours net, and maybe you read on some spec sheets like 25, 26 kilowatt hours, that's the gross figure, and they have such a high buffer that they can maintain the same value for you as a customer for the whole lifetime of the vehicle. The battery does lose some capacity over time, but not like the whole buffer in a couple of years. But I think it would still be better that you offer more from the start. Maybe then you lose a little bit over a couple of years, but then I had more before. So but that's definitely like a strategy thing they decided. If you use both powertrains at the same time, like here in sport mode, when you push it on, you can even have a better acceleration. Let's go. Ooh. Plop, that's 80. That went quick. So, because the plug-in hybrid drivetrain here will be the second quickest in the lineup, quickest with around 6 seconds in the acceleration figure, will be the 2-liter TSI with 265 horsepower on all-wheel drive. This one here, front-wheel drive only. You maybe also heard and felt that we had some wheel spin in the front, so much power just in the front axle. Now the pure petrol engine, 1.5 TSI. Let's go. Plop, that's 80. Little bit downhill though. Acoustic-wise, the coolest, I feel. Have the pure petrol engine sound. Of course, it's in a way then also the slowest of the ones in the test today, but it doesn't feel like that. So, and you have a quite natural feeling to that engine here. Weight-wise, if you ask yourself, hey, the plug-in hybrid, is it much heavier? It's about 250 kilograms, so there are like 500 pounds difference. This is not that you would extremely feel that in most situations. So at the same time here, the TSI is the lightest, and it kind of also feels light in a way, but not that the plug-in hybrid you would say, hey, no, this is heavy and this feels completely different in the handling. In the handling, they are all really good indeed. We have to see if also reliability and software and like electronics keeps up to that level. I cannot promise that, but from suspension, that is really great, and how the car feels as a whole. Just 2 days earlier, we've been driving the Peugeot 3008, which is the exact competitor also. We have driven it in the all-electric version though, so can't one-to-one compare it. It's also available with the comparable engine though, and we have to say we both experienced that, talked to Leah about that too, that this one here, the Tiguan, is maybe more conservative in the interior, styling-wise and so on, but it feels so much more elaborated because of that great suspension and the steering feel and so on. This is something where it really, really shines, especially with the DCC, now called DCC Pro, so I can really recommend to go for the adaptive suspension. Maybe not all the other bells and whistles, but the suspension is really something you should go for. Engine or the drivetrain is always a combination of entry price and the usage. Taxation reasons might push a lot for the plug-in hybrid. Yeah, that's probably also then a good choice if you can save a lot of money, especially with the company car. For most private use, then here the 1.5 TSI might just be a good pick. And also consumption-wise, well, you can also score some good values around 6 liters, 1 kilometers, like 40 mpg US, 50 mpg UK, in really good ideal conditions using that MHEV smart hybrid drive system. If you have some more dynamic driving, rather towards 7.5 liters in 1 kilometers, like 30 mpg US, 40 mpg UK. This would also then, the latter autos count for the TDI in the all-wheel drive spec, because that also consumes some more fuel. So there you see that TDI and TSI come very close. Only when you go like really high-speed motorway, then the TDI can catch up and is very good in the consumption, relatively low, whereas the petrol engine has a wider span of consumption, so the TDI doesn't vary so much in the consumption. That's the thing. And the plug-in hybrid drivetrain, you can always say it depends how much electric driving and how much petrol driving you do for that hybrid drivetrain. The Skoda Kodiaq has been known for being a good price-performance family SUV. Here it is now in the new generation, and we will drive it for you today and tell you how good is it, and also how does it compare to the sibling, the VW Tiguan, that was recently also launched in the new generation. With Thomas in Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the front. The all-new Kodiaq is really bold in the front. This is also the Sport line, exclusively for you here today. Then there is the black frame around the grille. Otherwise, you have a bright frame around the grille. And this color here is called Race Blue. Yes, my favorite color. That's what we call Thomas Blue here, also on Autogefühl. Yes, these t-shirts will soon be available in our merch section. We are preparing that for you at this moment. Then in the lower part here, this honeycomb style. So over very cool styling. Headlamps with a nice daytime running light, so-called Skoda crystal lighting. This is the matrix LED you can also get. The length, 4.76 meters or 187 inches, just grown a little bit in length. But this one here is actually significantly longer than the VW Tiguan, about 22 centimeters. Then you can see these crossover rear arches. These are 19-inch wheels. 19-inch is standard with the Sport line that also has this badge right here. You can even go up to 20-inch wheels. And also the Sport line has a blacked out, kind of D-pillar or the last pillar here at the back part. Otherwise, this is also in a bright design scheme. It's more form for this function. This vehicle is about space on the interior. And on the rear, once again with the Sport line, a blacked out Skoda lettering, really large here now in this new generation, and also more a functional design. I think it's a good approach because we will have a lot of space on the interior. On the technology side, very important, here with the Sport line, you already get a sportier suspension. But optional, for all the versions, you can get the DCC, now called DCC Plus. Volkswagen calls it DCC Pro, they call it DCC Plus, but it's the same technology. Now a 2-valve technology for the adaptive suspension, the dynamic chassis control. And that one actually promises more comfort and more sportiness at the same time. Is that true? We will test it in the driving part for you today. Turning indicators, wow, they look amazing here, already in the front right. I like that new styling. What about you? And by the way, you can hardly see it from this angle, but when you go a little bit lower, then you can see you can also get an illumination in the front grille for the new Kodiaq. It's kind of split, I would say, but yeah, a nice element at night. And in the rear you also have these cascading turning indicators or hazard lights if you have this matrix LED option. And yeah, you have seen that correctly. The rear light is just at the outside parts. This middle part then here is, yeah, it's just a like physical graphic. Let's say it that way. It's no light behind it or something. And now Leah is showing us one of the most famous features in the Skoda. The Rolls-Royce-alike feature. There we go. There it is hidden. The famous Skoda umbrella. There we go. And with a button you can actually open it. Yeah, it can also be a sunshade. And when you press the button again, then it closes. I did that wrong last time. Yeah, against wind it's not that resistant, but the opening and closing function is actually quite good. Yeah, and it always takes time, of course, to put it back in place again there. Key fob, high gloss black. I don't like it that much, and this is also one of the reasons why I don't like it. It just collects these scratches so easily, actually. Then here, door closing sound. Very solid. And you also hear that this mechanism is also sounding a little bit. Here, this is this door sill protector. It's a very nice and easy system, so you don't get scratches in the parking lot and so on. It's not only available for the front, but also for the rear. Look at that. Here we go. Yeah, that's I think a very cool idea, isn't it? Then inside of the doors, a soft touch here on the top part, also with a nice structure. I like the build quality, and the sport line here has these sporty inlet. Here you can really feel that it's also a real structure. You can also feel, so that looks and feels really nice. Microfiber then inserts here for the sport line, here with these contrast stitches. Then you have these Skoda features like the small trash bin. You can get it on both sides, and also felt on the inside is a really thick felt covering as well. Then new Kodiaq here, new generation with new steering wheel. You still have rear interface at the steering wheel here, for example, for the volume jog. One click button for the heated steering wheel. I like that. Unfortunately, they don't offer any animal skin alternative for the steering wheel yet here. But for the seats, there are a lot of alternatives available. Base fabric seats or also microfiber seats. For example, also in the sporty version here in the sport line, which is really special here with these holes opening a little bit more. Yeah, it's a kind of big perforation, I would call it. And especially the shoulder accentuation here. And this is microfiber and leatherette. So this is actually a very nice choice here for the sport line and here today. And the comfort in these seats is really very good. So headroom, plenty left with 189 or 6'2", and they really give good shoulder support here, nice and soft from the microfiber, all electric control here by the way, so I'm really happy with the comfort. Steering wheel here then in the manual control, up and down, in and out. And a very special feature here for the Kodiaq is this split glove box. Here there's actually I wanted to start with the other one. This is now very bad in the storytelling. Let's just pretend that this didn't happen. You have not seen anything. So there is the normal glove box in the lower part. And now comes the big surprise. There it is with the second top one. Okay, we don't edit it out. It's maybe a little bit funny as well. Yeah, and also here in the sport line, we have the microfiber covering of that one here with the contrast stitching. So that's a very cool idea. And once again, this inlet we've seen at the inside of the doors. The soft touch dashboard on top here with structure. This is the 13-inch screen. Is an option. You would start with 10-inch, so a little bit smaller if you just prefer it a little bit smaller. You know, some prefer it smaller, some prefer it bigger. You know, that's the thing. And here, smart dial setup. That's what I want to show you directly. You can pick 4 different functions for these lower dials in the middle part. Like here, for example, the fan speed. Click it one more time. Click it. There we go. Here, then is the volume selection. One more time, this then for the DCC selection, for the driving modes. So you can have that all in one dial in the lower part. And that's, I think, a very nice, fresh solution. So you can keep the rather conservative layout we know already, we're used to. At the same time, make it a little bit more digitalized and individualize this thing. And I especially appreciate here the manual climate unit. That's cool to have it here. And also here is the push feature. We have seen it with Range Rover first, I think. Here then for the seat heating, for example. So that's a cool idea. Also, when you have set the other temperature in a different way, then you can here hold to sync left and right. Digital instruments are also customizable, whatever you want to see. So the fuel info, map, and also these gauges. But I here also rather prefer this classic look. Yeah, probably like this. And you can get a head-up display in the windshield. This is also the snow mode, then the numbers are blue. Middle console, also microfiber styling here in the Sportline. You can slide this one forward or backward, open it, more space underneath. And then these two here in the front, you can also slide open, two USB-C chargers there, but you can also have two inductive chargers. They both work indeed. And you see here that also fits with an iPhone 14 Pro Max. Why do the girls always have the big smartphones and the boys have the smaller smartphones? Why is that? Can you tell me? I don't know, yeah. Then here, let's slide these ones open. And here you have cup holders. They're really small, I have to say, and more space right here. When you use the climate unit, you also have this overlay then here in the infotainment system. More to that also while driving. They have really upgraded the software, so it's quicker to select now. Here you can select in the screen, but you can also use the dial then from below. So both is actually possible, and assistant systems control is either here or also in the instruments there. You can also quickly access it. And you also have this large integration of Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, both wired or wireless, how you choose it. Now it gets really exciting. First of all, the Kodiaq is available as 5-seater or as 7-seater. Today we have the 7-seater, soon gonna show you. First of all, let's start with the second row. Here we have these sunshades you can get. They go also very wide, it's a very good idea then. Also the inside of the rear doors is, let's see. This is hardpack now. It's structured but hardpack, so not soft touch here like in the front, but we have the nice microfiber inserts here in the Sport, and also this structured insert, then this design decor element. And the doors at the rear are also not felt covered, so that's maybe a little bit disappointing. Then we have so many features here. First of all, this strap here to change the angle of the back part, like this, so more laying back or more upright, both is possible. Then you can slide the bench forward or backward. So this is like a 1/3, 2/3 split. Then we have here two bags, like a bigger one and this like a smaller one, for example, also for a smartphone. But we also have these holders you can get. Don't have to do it. I'm not the biggest fan as for crash safety and so on. But of course, it's convenient not to hold your smartphone, or you can also put it like this then, horizontal format if you watch something. Or you can also, usually that's more meant like for, tablets, iPads and so on. You can here adjust then the size and so on. So, but I think this is a better solution than these always built-in holders, because this holder here you can also just easily remove. So when you don't need it, better to remove it for the crash safety, I would say. This is a good and easy solution overall. Then we have, first of all, I can show you here, this is 2/3 then for sliding forward and backward. Here, this middle tunnel, we have a climate unit. Sort of with seat heating. When the car is running, then also the seat heating would appear. Climate unit separate for the rear seats, two USB-C chargers. And this lower unit, this is in addition, you don't have to go for it. You can also take this whole thing out. This would be possible. And when it is in, see here these rubber lips. When you fold them back in like this, then they become cup holders, or you fold them away and then they're just like this cubby hole. Then we have the middle armrest. Not adaptive, these cup holders though, so maybe the kids will spill it. The middle part can also be folded separately. You can see the top tether behind. Other than that, ISOFIX there in the front on the outside seats each. But we really have to say, yes, the quality is amazing once again here also for the rear seats. Nice with the microfiber. But also how Leah is standing here now filming, the door doesn't open too wide. So when you want to access child seats here, see here, I would rather wish for almost 90-degree opening. So getting large child seats in and out is maybe not ideal. Let's take it that way. Headroom in the rear, plenty available, no problem at all. Legroom is also good. This is the seat I would be driving, and you see here these sport seats are very voluminous. I would guess that the normal seats are maybe a little bit slimmer then, but is enough legroom definitely. And here once again this shade. So overall very well usable. There's so much to tell you about this rear experience, and that's also what the vehicle is really about. And now it gets even more interesting. What about the fifth? Wait a minute. I mean the third seating row. That means the sixth and seventh seats. Yeah, let's check. 1, 2, yeah, 7 seats. Let's just check it out. All right, third seating row. Now the comments are coming in, like Thomas in the third seating row with the time codes, because it always looks funny when I'm a tall person reside in tiny places. So, and then there's like a lever on the top part, and you can push that thing forward like this, and then yeah, the entry is fairly good. So either you can put this third seating row up from the trunk like this, or you can also put it up from here just like this very easily, and then you can also fold it down like this. Let's see if there's any other adjustment possible. No, that's basically it. Also with a nice microfiber in the Sportline, so they didn't save that. So, and then you can push the head restraints up like this. It's also decent. And the thing is now, so when, yeah, like this, I could sit here. As for the headroom, it's possible. You even have own cup holders here, like one cup holder. But if we push this bench back here, then of course it gets problematic, because that way I could sit here, but then look at that front part there, second seat row. It's not possible that anyone sits here. So that's why I did a test, and I pushed this seat here actually in the length, the way that I could still sit in the second seating row, because like this I could still sit there. Can I fit behind it then here? Not really. So here my knee is almost like here. So this is not for tall people in the third seating row. It's more like a, there, let's see again. They also don't have ISOFIX here in the third row. So this is more, let's say, yeah, for kids that are already old enough not to need like a large child seat, but then again, they're not too old, they're not too tall. So it's only for something in between, yeah, or if you're not as tall as me. So it's nice maybe to have the option, but at that length, maybe it makes more sense to stick with the 5-seater. Or what would you say? Trunk or boot, 845 liters with the 7-seater, 9 or 10 liters with the 5-seater. Let's take a look. First of all, here we can play some Tetris, because these are these boot splitters that I can, you know, prevent things from falling all over the place. Yeah, well, why not? Very nice idea for sure. So quite flexible. The length here, by the way, sorry, the width first is 1 meter or 40 inches in the middle part between the arches, but then in the upper part it's more like 120 in meters or 47 inches, and the normal trunk length is 1 meters and 7 or 42 inches. Then let's fold the stuff here, release it like this, and on the other side like this. There we go. You see, to put it fully flat, you have to go around, then push them down, then they're fixed like that. And you can see this is here just an additional cover. Actually, you can fold this one here up or away like this, and they're actually attached here to the third seating row. So it's not a must-have. There we go. More space underneath, also for a replacement tire, and you can also, you know, leave it like this in this position. And this is also here a slidable cover. You press it once like this. The only thing is it's very thin, so here this edge here is kind of sharp. You have to be careful with that. And to fold here the 6 and 7 seat, you can put these straps here, which are, you know, underneath. You can put it through this cover. Maybe I'm not the biggest fan of this cover, but again, it's optional. And then you can also pull them up like this. Yeah, have to remove this one first naturally. Sorry, I didn't think of that. So this is of course important, because otherwise no one can sit there anyway. So like this and like this. Under the hood, quite a lot of engine choices. This here, the entry petrol level engine, 1.5 TSI mild hybrid MHEV system, 150 horsepower. We'll drive that one here today, but you can also get a 2-liter TSI, stronger petrol engine. There you can also get an all-wheel drive choice, Or what about the 2-liter TDI, also in 2 different horsepower specs? This engine here is, however, also based for the plug-in hybrid version, which is the most major upgrade, I would say. Now a 20 kWh net battery, massively increased, so like 80 kilometers, 50 miles of real-world range on the pure electric side. And also the recharging is definitely way quicker than before. Sport mode. Yeah, that was actually quite decent. It's of course not the quickest engine. This here, the 1.5 TSI mild hybrid system. The acceleration figure, official one, is just under 10 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 60 miles an hour. So it will not be the strongest engine in the lineup, rather the weakest. But for most cases, since it has a turbo, it will still serve the purpose. It has also a low entry price. We start here with some motorway driving, so going to 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, and it's actually decently silent in here. This is also a thing about this new generation. It is more aerodynamic, and I also feel that they worked on the noise insulation. That is the turning indicator is actually quite nice in the sound, right? So let me just turn it again. Yeah, I think that sounds rich in a way, like not rich in the money sense, but rich, like a rich sound. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and I think it gives you good comfort also here with the Sportline sport seats, microfiber, and they hold you also tight in the corners, so it's a good comfort experience definitely. Steering here also a little bit depends on the mode, but still, although we're on the sport mode, it is rather soft, I would say. You can also switch it then here back to the normal mode again, then it's even a little bit softer, but overall it still gives you a quite good feeling of what you're actually doing on the road. And I'm really happy that we can still select here the drive modes in the lower part. Easy from sport to normal again, and I press it one more time, then I can also select the volume, back again, and yeah, you can also have more functions on there as we've shown to you in the interior part. Probably for driving it's best to select the driving modes there. Yeah, for example, the volume I just changed here with my left thumb on the steering wheel, so that's definitely an easier thing to do. Also, when I realized, it's getting a little bit hot in here then now. It's getting hot in here. Both? Yeah. So we can adjust the temperature here easily while driving. So I love this user interface. It's also to me easier if you compare it to the Volkswagen Tiguan, the sister model. They kept here a more classic user interface, and here it's also interesting. So I criticized it last time while driving. This is the car internal GPS, and you have this climate overlay here, this visualization, which is indeed actually quite nice because it's placed in a lower area, and then if you really don't have to look at it, you can also have it up here. And then last time it was the case that you had the overlay on the car internal GPS, but this was not the case for the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto Map. And now they changed it actually. So here when I'm, for example, in Apple Maps and I control the climate unit here, there's this overlay, but last time it went black, like the whole GPS screen went black. This time it did not go black, so here the normal overview. So they fixed this software-wise. It's actually quite good that we find out some stuff, then we can also report that to them, or maybe you as a customer can also have some comments underneath the video, and then they can also work on the software status. Now we switch the motorway. This is, by the way, the speed warning. So here we go. Good feeling for the steering wheel. Does it actually feel different than the Tiguan? They come really, really close. Although the Kodiaq is a little bit longer, you don't feel too much of it, I would say. Maybe just a little bit. But overall, since they sit on the very same platform and share so much in the tech, they really come very, very close in the driving. It's more than a question of if you want that extra space here from the Kodiaq. To accelerate onto the motorway, this 1.5 TSI is sometimes a little bit sluggish. So if you have a lot of higher speed motorway situations, I would probably recommend then to go for the 2-liter TSI, for example, or then for the diesel version. The plug-in hybrid will of course also give you more punch. it's not that it's not okay, you know, just that I'm not the biggest fan of downsizing. So when there's a bigger engine with higher displacement available, usually also for, you know, long-term durability reasons is actually quite good. On the other hand, this mild hybrid system can also save some fuel so that you have a lower fuel consumption. And one more thing to talk about is the DCC Plus, as Skoda calls it, you know. DCC Pro, it's been called at Volkswagen. And on individual then, there we can go to configure, and then we can rule from comfort to sport like the whole way. This new two-valve technology really gave us so much comfort. It's really awesome, and I would actually pick the comfort setting all the way and then sport steering, so that would be my individual mode, because that way you have greatest comfort from suspension, but it's not that would be shaking up or so, but the steering gives you more feedback. Of course, it's not the sportiest SUV in the world. You know, that's what you cannot expect from the Kodiaq, also when we're here in the roundabout or something. But since the suspension is now even more comfortable, this new DC Pro lifts, or DC Plus as Skoda calls it, really lifts it on another level, and I like that. And I think it very well plays together with the added noise insulation, and then here this upgraded suspension, that it's even more comfortable overall. So this makes up, you know, especially like these are the main two differences if you compare the previous Kodiaq to this one now. So about the assistance systems, here there's a blind spot monitor. When I'm setting the turning indicator, the side mirror is also flashing, that's helpful. And then you can of course also activate the cruise control. You have different assistance systems available. You can also activate or deactivate quite easily. That's I think a good thing, because if something is annoying you at some point, like an assistance system, you press here one button and then you can, for example, deactivate the lane assist or deactivate the speed warning. That's a quick thing to do. So yeah, that's actually quite good. Then I can also switch between ACC and the travel assist. The travel assist is the most elaborated system, and I have a separate stalk column here left below. And then I can also have the most elaborated cruise control, so to speak. So here we go, I set it, and then I can also adjust the speed here with this stalk column. And now the car is basically doing everything for me. So keeping the distance to the front and also keeping me in the lane. And so far so good. It's a very smooth system actually, so there are no hectic steering movements. It's still level 2, so you're supposed to keep your hands at the steering wheel at all times, like this. But overall, they worked also on these systems, and they are way more elaborated than here now in this generation. And I mean, there's a lot of cars around us here at the moment, so quite a lot of traffic, and I really feel that they worked so much on noise insulation. We've had it with the Tiguan as well, and this is probably, to me, the biggest difference then from the previous generation Kodiaq to this generation now. It's just more silent and more relaxing ride, and yeah, together with the nice sporty seats here, they are sporty but at the same time more comfortable, I feel. This gives a very good Autobahn cruiser here. What do you think, Leah? You're already dreaming, so you agree. That's always a good sign, you know, when she's like thinking, yeah, let him talk, you know, I'm just relaxing here. It's like and it's always a bad sign when she's like, very like, you know, I hope this will be finished soon. But this definitely like a relaxed sign for that. Yeah, so very good performance here driving wise on the motorway in all the different aspects actually. And to me, really the thing that I have the good user interface, at the same time I have all modern systems that I maybe want or maybe need. So here also, when you just like more steady, not so much acceleration, then also the 1.5 TSI is absolutely fine, you know. We just do one more lane change when we're here at 100 kilometers an hour, see how that performs. Car doesn't shake up at all. Really calm driving experience. We have 19-inch wheels mounted here at the moment. This is probably then still a good choice between you have great visual and you still have some comfort. 20-inch wheels, I would probably not go for them because they maybe look cooler. At the same time, you also lose comfort when you have less dampening comfort than from the tires. So I think this here, as a Sportline 19-inch wheels, is I think a very good choice to configure this vehicle, because it gives you comfort. At the same time, you have a nice sporty look. When you say, hey, I don't want like this boring family SUV, I want something, you know, with spice. And I think this is what especially the new Kodiaq here in the sport line really nails. Consumption here today with the 1.5 liter TSI, very good. Well, we went mainly 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour on the motorway, so ideal conditions. We went with about 6 liters on 1 kilometers, that's 39 mpg US, about 47 mpg UK. Excellent result, of course. Will be a little bit worse when you have more city traffic and so on. But you can see, yes, it's not the most powerful engine, not at all. But then again, with this mild hybrid system, it can also save some fuel. With a better mix of city and so on, you can add like a liter or maybe like deduct 5 mpg or something. Then you get a more realistic value when you also have other driving conditions. Pricing here, you start around 40,000 euros as it's spec'd right here. You can also exceed some 50,000 euros. However, as for the price performance, it's still actually quite good. And especially here in the new generation with the updated adaptive suspension and the better noise insulation, it gives you a more premium ride, definitely. Comparison to the Tiguan, yes, this has just more space and the possibility of a 7-seater. Remember that the EU Tiguan now is just the small one. There will be a bigger, the Taigo, which also adds then more seat possibility, which will be more similar to the Kodiaq actually. And this Taigo will be then the US Tiguan. Yes, sense, logic, sorry about that, that's how VW is planning it. But getting back to the Skoda Kodiaq, overall I think once again a very nice result and a nice upgrade here in this new generation, especially because they kept this rather classic user interface but mixed it with some new digital elements. Then I would only wish for a completely animal-free interior. That's maybe on my bucket list then here for this vehicle. But good that we also have the 7-seater possibility. Not too many possibilities for families if you want more than 5 seats. This is definitely a very nice one. The all-new Volkswagen Passat is here, new generation. They actually want to go a little bit more upmarket with the new Passat. Does it even make an Audi obsolete? We're going to find out here with Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. This is the Elegance, one of the 2 top trims. Horizontal stress here, more chrome details. Light strip goes all the way across. We also expect an illuminated logo at a later stage. Mariposed green is this vehicle color. Of course, more colors are available also throughout this review, like this white one. And this is the R-Line, sporty R-Line. Look at that here, horizontal stress and then the black mesh grille. So this is the more contrastish look, I would say. And also look at these indentations here on the top of the hood. However, what you can clearly see that it is more aerodynamic than before. From 0.31 improved to 0.25 in the CD value, and their lower value is better. So they definitely optimized all the small details to make it more efficient. Side profile of the R-Line here with the badge. 18-inch wheels here in black design, and the R-Line also features here this black contrast in the lower part. R-Line in the rear. First of all, light strip goes all the way through. That's standard for the new Passat. Here also really cool segmented tail lamp signature. In the lower part you can see the R-Line has a special feature once again with this black mesh, and it has the greatest contrast when you have the black high gloss things and then here of course the white color, also here then Passat badging in black. Suspension specific, the R-Line has 15 millimeters lower suspension, either a fixed sport suspension when you just normally go for the R-Line. If you then go for the optional DCC, the new DCC Pro, it also still keeps this 50 millimeters lower unless you have the e-hybrid, the plug-in hybrid drivetrain. Then it always remains at the very same height. So there is basically a deletion of the sport suspension because the plug-in hybrid, for security reasons, for the battery, always keeps the normal height, normal level. R-Line seats here, look at that, badge and an integrated head restraint, microfiber on the outside parts here, fabric on the inside. So this is the sporty seat that comes with the R-Line. And good comfort, the only thing is here with 189, 6'2", still have enough headroom, but here the integrated head restraint, because they're not adjustable, I think I'm maybe even a little bit too tall for that already. However, looking forward to if this here, the R-Line seat is more comfortable or the one in the Elegance, we're finding out. Microfiber on the dashboard, that's beautiful. Then this illuminated deco element here. You can have the ambient lighting in there, and then the blue contrast dish. So R-line interior looks pretty fancy already. And the steering wheel here with perforations at the side. This one, however, is still animal material in the, in all of the VW combustion engines. So they're not as sustainable as they do with the electric vehicles. And even here in the R-line, always real buttons at the steering wheel. Good job. R-line in the rear repeats this pattern here, fabric on the inside and some microfiber inserts with the blue contrasts. So we have seen Oryx white with the R-line, we have seen Mariposate green with the elegance, and here we have, once again, elegance trim, but in chili red. Also, yeah, very screaming out color, definitely. In the side profile now, 4 meters 92 or 194 inches. It's 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches longer than the predecessor, so massive gain in length. Also in wheelbase, shares the platform with the Skoda Superb. That is available both as the estate and as a fastback sedan, so to speak. The Passat in this generation is now variant or estate only, actually. Because they say, yeah, we won't sell too many sedans. We concentrate then rather on, like SUV is the thing, electric vehicles, but they move away from these classic car forms. Do you agree? Then here, 18-inch wheels also for this very vehicle. Elegance trim in the rear. You can see a more subtle look here in the lower part. Which one would you go for? Sporty R-line or here the elegance. A base trim would rather look like the elegance trim. The R-line is the most screaming out one, definitely. Interesting technology highlight is the DCC Pro. New adaptive suspension. So they now use a 2-valve system before 1 valve. So 1 valve basically per spring way. And this gives you more comfort and sportiness at the same time, and you can rule in between that. We're also going to find out when we drive it later. Turning indicators, very visible, and if you have the optional LED, it also has this cascading function, both in the front and also in the rear.
Oh, and do you know that situation here? Someone parked you in? Well, then you can use the remote park assist connected to the Volkswagen app, and then you can actually park this vehicle out of this too narrow parking lot. This basically works always, so you don't have to program anything for that. Here the car just goes straight backward or forward depending on the situation. And the second use case is this here. For that use case, you can see I basically have my car on the leash there and it parks in automatically, also with a corner, so to speak. This, however, only works if you have programmed this before. So you have to do this parking maneuver once yourself, then the car can do it automatically.
Key fob, yeah, I can't stop with the high gloss black though, right? Then door closing sound, really solid, like that. Inside of the doors, in front, soft touch here in the top part, also nicely structured. This one here, the elegance trim. Once again, the rear buttons on the steering wheel, and these here are the Ergo Active seats, microfiber on the inside, also some more shoulder area, leather on the outside, so the seats are animal free. And this is here also the separated head restraint, so a difference to the R-line seat. And seating comparison here, the elegance seat or the microfiber seat versus the R-line seat. Well, that the head restraint is separated, that's better because I can adjust the height here, good, a little bit higher, and it's also a little bit softer, I feel. Then again, the upper area, the shoulder area, better here, I feel, because the R-line seat is a little bit more caged in, but that might depend on the body. But the lower, the seating area, I feel, the surface here is also really nice with the microfiber, but the fabric, the bowstring might be a little bit soft. I'm not sure. So, yeah, I think overall it's light nuances. They both come close. I think when you're a little bit, like wider and taller, these seats here are actually better. When you're a little bit smaller, I think the R-line seats will be better. Ooh, look at that. The microfiber seats in the bright styling. That is something for me. I just love that. Some might say, yeah, stains and so on. And yeah, but I'm really taking care of my cars like really, really diligently. Like there's also the, like the food warning always when someone tries to take out food in a vehicle. Yeah, shouldn't be allowed in the vehicle. Yeah, but I think I would go for this one here. Digital instruments, you can adjust a lot. You can change the whole view, but you can also decide what's in the middle or have here map full screen. That's, however, just the map of the car internal GPS. And you get a real head display with projection, and you can even pick this snow mode, where then have the blue number to see that better. In the cockpit, dominating this 15-inch screen, base would be 13. This is here an option then. You have the main menu right here. They also worked on the CPU power in the back end, so it's definitely better than before. Most of the time, of course, you will use Apple CarPlay Android Auto. We had one freeze with Apple CarPlay, by the way, here today, so definitely have to mention that. And then here, sliders for the temperature. I prefer physical knobs, not hashtag capacitive BS, but still it's good to have them instead of just here in the screen. And here, seat massage. This is really cool. And it works very well. It feels like in a luxury vehicle. This is not just the lumbar support going, really individual cushions there. So that is a very good elaborated system. Quality and storage check. Glove box. Yeah, it's nicely dampened. Nice closing sound. Then the middle console has these sliders here. Same than in the Skoda. Then two USB-C chargers in the front. Inductive charging pad is also cool. These are the cooling holes. If I take out this rubber here, you can see this is then where it's ventilated. So that's good that it doesn't overheat. Then the cup holders are adaptive. There we go. And these are the, yeah, it's also the like from Skoda, you know. So indeed, the Passat is more a Skoda now, it seems, but then a little bit more high class. And then here, look at that, the split opening. There we go. You can take out this, you know, clutter thing. Ah, look at that. VW AG, yes. Slovakia. Back to the middle console. So you have more space then. Headroom also works with the panoramic roof, and you can see this is in a shade. Also nice bright ceiling than here in this very trim. So shade takes a while, and then it's a separate slider here for the real opening. So this is one of the rare, wow, this is large. So we see more and more fixed glass roofs, definitely. This one, this wasn't the sound of the car. This was like a golf buggy running here, like over some metal. So this then the real opening. So there we go. Very nice panoramic roof, isn't it? Passat convertible. Rear doors. Inside also structure and soft touch. We rarely see that nowadays. So indeed, yeah, it's keeping up premium promises. Then here also with the manual shade. And both front and also in the rear seating area, felt covering on the inside of the door pockets. Another check. And you really have to say, if we compare the true premium manufacturers, maybe this is even better here in some details. So yeah, hats off to that. Also the nice microfiber seats in the rear. It feels really, really nicely. Large middle tunnel, and you have a separate climate unit. It's like a book or phone holder, but I'm not sure who wants to look down there to the middle console. Adaptive cup holders, but kind of tiny. You could also use this ski hatch here. It's also possible. Yeah. Don't look at the clutter on the inside. And rear headroom. This is the one with the panoramic roof. So with 1A9 602, it comes close. It would be then a little bit more if you don't go for this panoramic roof. Oh, like this cover here is not really that much a stretch. Not sure if it's because it's one of the early vehicles, but yeah, I probably should tell Volkswagen this doesn't look too good. So maybe it should be a little bit more stretched indeed. But the rear comfort is really nice. Ah, wow, these head restraints are very comfortable indeed. And also more legroom than before. Wheelbase has been lengthened, so you have enough legroom here. Yeah, this could indeed, from the dimensions, definitely compete with an Audi A6 even. Well, if Leah wants to prevent that I am playing with the rear climate unit, she can just cut me off like this and lock the rear climate unit. Let's check out here the loading area. First of all, electric hatch, and look at that. Here. Ah, here the cover, it automatically goes back and forth. Look at that. So I close the hatch and then there we go, comes towards us again. This is a very nice feature. And wait a minute, recently we had the BMW 5 Series Touring and it did not have that anymore. So here, actually good that they have that for this generation as well. And then 690 liters up to 1920. It's 40 liters more in the base spec, and here it's actually a little bit more than a meter or 40 inches in width. And the length here, the normal length, is about 115 in meters or 45 inches. Important for all our friends with doggos. Here is about 70 centimeters in height or 27 inches. Easily folding the seats from here, left and right, and they immediately fold very flat. That's cool. And to the seats as we would be driving, yeah, that's a massive gain now. So that's really 2 meters or 78 inches. Yeah, that's really cool. Then here we can have some more flexibility. Take this out, that one as well. And then underneath there is more space. Yeah, stay the subwoofer at the moment, but otherwise you could also fit a replacement tire. And then you have these trunk splitters here, for example, and you can see you can also take them out like here. And there we go. And then put them, for example, here, that, you know, maybe put something in the front and it doesn't fly all over the place. More details here on the right side. There is also a real power socket. There we go, 230 volts. And then we also have a retractable towing hook for this, and then it's semi-automatic like this. Have to go the last way, and then also you can push it back like this. And the plug-in hybrid trunk here, or loading area, you can put the cable here in like a box like this. This would be one possibility. The space you have here on the top is the same. It's, you know, you don't lose much, just you lose underneath. The space is actually a little bit smaller, but here you can even put a backpack in here, or then this also, yeah, it also has the symbol here. You can put the cable right here, so there is enough space underneath at least, or you can, yeah, have also this splitter storage here. Then you can also portion your trunk area, you know, that also things don't fly around or something. Yeah, the only thing is, of course, no frunk. It's not a pure electric vehicle. And yeah, sometimes the problem is when there's luggage on top and then you have to look underneath. So this would be an argument for this solution. Yeah, but then again, this is the cleaner solution. Yeah, what do you think? Under the hood, starts here with the 1.5 TSI turbo petrol engine. All 4-cylinder engines, 150 horsepower. Stronger petrol engine, a 2-liter TSI, even up to 265 horsepower in the higher horsepower spec than with all-wheel drive. There's still the classic 2-liter TDI. Also in the higher horsepower spec, all-wheel drive is possible. Still a front-wheel based platform, so there's a front plus rear on demand. And of course, very popular now, the plug-in hybrid has been massively upgraded based on the 1.5 TSI, but now with 20 kilowatt hours net, the battery, so it gives you a realistic of 80 kilometers, 50 miles of real-world range. The plug-in hybrid available in 2 horsepower specs, 204 horsepower or 272 horsepower. 8 seconds or 7.4 seconds in the acceleration figure. The bigger or more powerful one is then the second quickest in the acceleration figure. Quicker is just a 2-liter TSI in the 265 horsepower spec. That is then at 5.6 seconds in the acceleration figure. Recharging, 11 kilowatt AC, 50 kilowatt DC peak. So that is then 25 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the all-new VW Passat. We start here with the plug-in hybrid in the all-electric mode and also accelerate out of the corner. See how smooth that works. Let's go. Plop, that's 60. I could accelerate a little bit quicker. That's possible, but I always have to, you know, be gentle with the throttle, because when you floor it down, then the combustion engine will also go on, and I just want to get a feeling for the electric acceleration. It's also the theme of this vehicle in this generation. So before, the old plug-in hybrid drivetrain was more switching between electric and combustion engine, also lower range overall. And this here now is the scheme of having just more electric drive. So it starts always in the electric drive. You also have higher electric range, as I said, about 80 kilometers or 50 miles of real-world electric range. And it stays also in the electric mode almost no matter what I do. So also when I here switch to the S shifting mode, which would be for the combustion engine, it doesn't turn on the engine or something. And we can also change the driving mode, which is here a little bit complicated. I don't have any manual interface here. I have to always do it in the screen here, but at least there's the hotkey on top there. I go to sport mode. Yeah, in this case then the engine hopped on, but now it's off again. So it really depends, but it's not that the logic is always goes on. And here comfort, back to sports. So here now in this case it did not go on. So before, when I switched to sport mode, it was always activating the combustion engine. Here it more depends on more different values. So sometimes it goes on, sometimes not. But the thing is that I hardly notice it. And that is also one of the core features. Now it's off again. But I really have to look in the instruments that I really see what is happening. Before I could feel it, it was maybe almost stuttering, or you could have, you know, like the audible thing. But now the transitions between electric drivetrain and the combustion engine is just so much smoother. And I think really before in the previous generation you had to go for the plug-in hybrid just because of the taxation thing. Now you could say, hey, I really want that engine because it's maybe fun, it's more performance, or you just want to have the more electric moments, and you want rather a almost electric Passat, because in most situations you will have that. At the same time, you can have the combination here of both drivetrains. It's also just, you know, starting at a lower RPM is more silent. Here in the sport mode, however, we have a little bit more RPM in general then, and it's also keeping it. So when you go to the comfort mode, it's always a little bit calmer experience. This also changes the DCC Pro now, the adaptive suspension. When you go to the comfort mode, it rules between a more comfortable span between comfort and sport, but you can also go to the individual mode, and my favorite setting is actually always going here. You can, from minus to plus, going all the way to comfort with the suspension, and then actually go for the steering with the sport setting. That is my favorite setting. You have more feedback then from the steering. It's not so vague, I would say. It feels more natural, a little bit sportier. Then again, you use all the comfort of that suspension, and wow, that suspension has really gone another leap forward, and it almost feels like you would be driving like a higher segment vehicle, because it's really smooth, especially when you're driving over some waves. And even more interesting is that when you're going to push it a little bit more into a slalom, like just doing like this, for example, this is now the all the comfort setting, and then you do it here in the all sporty setting, and it doesn't change much. And that's, to me, a good thing, because what it does change here when we are all the way to sport, over these bumps, you really feel, that you have more contact to the ground. It's definitely a sportier setting. At the same time, it's not that you would go for all comfort, and then you say, you're leaning the car too much here. Comfort setting, corner, the car stays upright. And that's actually what also this two-valve technology is achieving, that you have both comfort and sportiness. And that's also the reason I would keep it in the most comfortable setting, because that's where you profit the most from this whole suspension setting. So if you ask me, should you go for the DCC or not? Yes, you should definitely pick one. Definitely go for that one. It gives so much comfort to the whole vehicle. It's also one of the unique features, definitely. Happy also with the steering in general, even more so when you have it in the sport setting, because in the comfort setting it's maybe a little bit too soft, I feel. But overall you have a good feeling. You have also a progressive steering. That means you have to keep your hands on the steering wheel all the time. That's a good thing. Or you can keep your hands at the steering wheel all the time. You don't have to grab over and so on, even in tighter corners. And assistance systems, we can also check that out right here. I sometimes tend to misuse this assistance systems, because when they're functioning here well also on the countryside road, you know that they are really good and deliberated. And here, although it's meant to be used for the motorway, where the lines and so on are even better, look at here. Now I have to correct it a little bit. Yeah, this was a very tricky section, but before it was working very well. Let's try here again. Once again, it's meant for the motorway, but here now, when you also have like some lines with interruptions inside, let's see how it keeps the car in the lane at around 70 kilometers an hour. Oh, this is tricky now. Yeah. This is, yeah, you can't trust it 100%. It's not like an autonomous drive. But the good thing is that even when you misuse it here for countryside roads, you see that it doesn't do any hectic steering movements. And you feel it also when you are on the motorway and you follow like a slight bend that doesn't start to, like going hectic left and right and so on. It always keeps it rather smooth here from the steering wheel. So here now, once again, 0 RPM. For example, when you're driving city, roundabouts and so on, it's just so much more silent with plug-in hybrid drivetrain. And this one here, the weaker horsepower spec of the hybrid drivetrain we are driving at the moment, will be one of the main engines that customers will go for. And only makes sense because you can keep the fuel consumption relatively low if you recharge frequently. And even without, you always have the recuperation moment. The recuperation has been enhanced as well. You can just get more energy back to the battery again. Most of the time you just use the brake pedal and then you have the recuperation. You can see it on the left side of the instruments. It's not that you have like a B mode where you can increase the recuperation here directly somewhere. So the only thing you can do, you can set a hotkey here for recuperation in the vehicle menu. This is usually set to automatic. So when the car is in front of me, there's more recuperation. When there's no car in front of me, there's less. You can then also set it here to low. So when I lift my foot on the throttle, there's hardly any recuperation, or you can put it to high. But that you change that while driving is not very realistic. It's more that you pick one setting you prefer. Here, high recuperation, there's strong recuperation then, even stronger than when the battery is more depleted. So the key thing is that you pick your own setting that you prefer, basically, and then keep it, because this is also a last mode setting. So in this case, then this mode is being kept even if you start the vehicle new again. Oh, this is, by the way, the speed warning. So I mean, sometimes it can be helpful, but here, for example, it came a little too late because now the speed has been changed. If you want to get rid of the speed warning, that actually works also to deactivate it while driving in a relatively easy way. There's this assistance systems hotkey in the top part right there, speed warning, and you don't have to click there. It's also okay if you click in the middle part here. So this is possible actually. Yeah, but overall, of course, it's always better not to control anything in the infotainment system while driving because it's always distracting. And I mean, they forbid us for good reason to use the smartphones. Not too much should be done in the screen. And by the way, the GPS, even if you don't see anything here, or maybe the passenger is doing something here, I have GPS arrows in the head-up display and also here in the digital instruments. This is, however, at the moment, all the car internal GPS. So let's go back here. When I accelerate all electric, I can even push the pedal down a little bit more. That works. And it's super smooth. So I really enjoy driving it all electric. It would also fit to the Passat to be all electric in total. That would work, at least driving wise. And the balance is also really good. You remember that the vehicle is longer than before, way longer. Has also a longer wheelbase, for example. But still, it's quite agile. Feels good. Nice comfort from the seats. So the overall package is once again long-term, long journey, also comfort. And also one of the key features here is the acoustic package. So it's so silent in here. At the moment, 70 kilometers an hour. At a later stage, we can also do some more high speed on German Autobahn. But this works very well. So aerodynamics are better than before, and also the sound installation. So it's even more silent. So one of the key things at first was, can it really keep up with Audi maybe to be a little bit more upmarket and premium? Well, as for the suspension comfort and especially the noise comfort, I don't feel any big difference there, honestly. Software things, we had some screen freeze in individual tiles. For example, we were controlling the climate unit. It was stuck for like half a minute. Then it came back to life. So these things are still happening, but the overall performance of the infotainment is also improved meanwhile. And now, once again, accelerating out of the roundabout. Yeah, there's a lot of fun. Good control from the steering. And one more time, let's go to the sport mode. There we go. Here you see engine is not on. Just when I really floor it down like this, then you also have it more audible from the whole engine. Acceleration with both drivetrains at the same time. Let's floor it. Plop, that's 80 kilometers an hour. So at the first electric drivetrain was active, and some wheel spin. Remember, all of the power via the front axle. Of course, at some point it does limit then what you can bring to the road. So that's also one of the reasons why the 2-liter TSI with the all-wheel drive will be even quicker than this one here. So when you really floor it down and then control it with the steering wheel, you have to be careful. So I wouldn't say this is the biggest strength. You have the performance, yes, and will, for example, be also important on the motorway that you have the performance when you do some quick overtaking maneuvers. What they have changed here in this generation is also that in basically all acceleration moments, you always have this electric help. So it's meant to be that you always have something left of the battery, and then you have the acceleration help. It's not really meant to be used for, you just deplete the battery and then drive the whole time just with empty battery. They really try to encourage customers also to recharge it at home at the wall box and so on. Then, of course, the whole drivetrain makes sense here. Now the 2-liter TDI. Let's go. Ooh.
Nice.
70. Yeah. Good acceleration. And I also want to do the test like accelerating out of the corner. Front wheel drive only, but still you see how calm the steering was remaining, although we were putting so much power on the front wheels, being here in the sport mode. Good acceleration, and this is also the second volume engine, so the plug-in hybrid in the lower horsepower trim, and this one here, the 2-liter TDI, 150 horsepower. These will be the two main engines, the best sellers. That's also the pick today. Of course, when you have the diesel, especially in the low speed areas, yeah, you just hear it, but as soon as you pick up the speed a little bit, then it diminishes. It's more about the wind noise. However, since it's so silent in here with all that insulation, it's still really good. And wow, look at that, how the vehicle performs in the corner, even though when the DCC is here at the moment on the sporty side, individual, I can have it on the comfortable trim, but in the corners doesn't make too much of a difference. More about running straight. I really love the comfortable setup, and the new Passat really drives so smooth no matter which engine version you pick. The diesel might make sense for long motorway journeys. You can score some, even with higher speed, 6 liters and 1 kilometers, like 40 mpg US, 50 mpg UK, and it will always be in that region. You can do a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse when you really go super high speed, but there's not a wide span of fuel consumption, whereas the pure petrol engine will have a wider span between minimum and maximum, and the plug-in hybrid drivetrain really depends on how is your electric usage of that vehicle. Then it's more about the individual usage of each drivetrain. And one more thing I really have to comment on when we're driving that one here. So here at this very same opportunity, we've been driving the Tiguan and we've been driving the Passat. And the Tiguan is inside the SUV segment, the compact SUV segment, a very elaborated ride. We really have to say that. But when you first drive a Tiguan and then go to a Passat, the choice, to me at least, is pretty clear. Yes, the Passat, of course, is way larger, or basically different segment, Tiguan is way shorter. But from this general philosophical question, SUV or sedan/estate? To me now, this is like they're on the same platform. It's the same corporation. They share so many parts, actually. And you have to say that here you sit a little bit lower. It's better because the center of gravity is lower. And when you are in the corners, this one here is so much smoother than the SUV. You just feel calm, and especially, for the passenger. So we were driving back and forth, Tiguan, Passat, Tiguan, Passat, Tiguan, Passat. And especially for Leah then as a passenger, she was like, oh wow, can you drive a little bit slower with the Tiguan? And here with the Passat, I can drive way faster, and she's perfectly fine with that and really calm and doesn't get sick and so on. So yeah, just as a very important side note, if you decide between SUV and estate or sedan, probably between SUV and estate to have that, practical hatch, I would maybe take a test ride and then see for yourself. I can just say, when I enter an SUV, I love the upright seating position, but as soon as you start driving, then in the driving dynamics, the non-SUV, the real cars, definitely still better. Today we're driving the all-new Skoda Superb for you. The question is, how good is it? How does it relate to the Volkswagen Passat, a brother or sister model that is built in the very same plant together? And is it a premium ride that can even catch up to Audi, BMW, Mercedes? We'll find out for you in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. It's Thomas and Autogefühl. And here the front grille leads over directly to the headlamps. LED or optional matrix LED. This is also a nice daytime running light in this Czech craftsmanship crystalline design. I think a beautiful sport design in the front, also with these deep accentuations in the hood. Iced tea yellow, or in Germany they call it iced tea beige, is the color. They went for beige because they say, people might be scared by a yellow color. I think it's a nice fresh color, that's for sure. If it's iced tea or not, whatever. Usually a Superb is often bought in like grey, black and so on, so why not something different? Wheels from 16 to 19 inch, these here are 18 inch wheels, so maybe a good compromise in between. And comfort is indeed the scheme of the all-new Skoda Superb. Why is that? Optionally you can get the adaptive suspension. They call it here DCC Plus at Skoda, DCC Pro at Volkswagen with the Passat. It now employs a 2-valve system, promising more comfort and sportiness at the very same time. We'll see very soon if that's true. The length, 4 meters 90 or 193 inches, more or less the same. A little bit increase in wheelbase if we compare the predecessor. This being here the Combi or the Estate. There's also a sedan or hatch available, depending on how you want to name it. Fastback, there's a big discussion about that. If you take the form or how the hatch is opening. Well, in both cases in here, you have a real hatch that can open. Also, of course, here for the Combi. Nice, clean design for the tail lamps. And they now also have a bolder styling here, for example, with the big Skoda lettering right here. And of course, especially the Combi, and the Superb in general, is about the loading volume. 690 liters here, that's amazing. And you can see our luggage almost looks lost in here. A meter or 40 inches in width, and it's even 1 meter, almost 1 meter 10 in length, or 43 inches. Good measures. And you can see this cover here, this electric cover, is going automatically back. So when I close the hatch, like here, then you can see the cover is coming towards us. That's a nice feature. It's connected, so you get the optional electric hatch and then automatically also get this cover. And if we are really quick now, when I open it again, then you can see it goes back here once again. Then you can also fold the seats, easy solution, left and right, and you have very good loading possibility then here. You also have a semi-electric towing hook, I would say. Here you activate it from the inside, then it goes out like this. You pull it up, that's it. Press it again, and you can push it in. Here we, by the way, have some extra features. There's this iPad holder here, and maybe seen that one. This is a blanket holder, actually. It's a clever idea, isn't it? So that's at the back part of the seats. Of course, we can fold everything up here again. Or not. So let's close it properly again. Yeah, this one. Okay, close this one first. There we go. And then this one. So, and then the thing is here, of course, here with the Skoda Superb, you have a lot of legroom. Even though as I'm driving as a tall person, so much legroom left, and it's even a little bit more than before. And headroom, this one here with the panoramic roof. So with 189, 602, some space left. Without the panoramic roof, it would be more. Actually, the only thing I dislike with the panoramic roof, I've seen it with the Passat as well, I think the cover here is a little bit too loose. You know, when you see here, it's like, I don't know, like a sail. Also nice manual shade here in the rear, that's nice. And structured materials, also soft touch in the rear. Everything you see, feel, microfiber here as well. It's really a superb build quality. Oh, I really love this feature here, these horns. The bull horns, but they are against falling asleep or help you falling asleep. So we put them down like this, and you know this typical situation where you have like, and then you wake up and like, oh, my neck is killing me. So here that way, like this, like that. Yeah, it's great for the kids in the back, for example, but of course also for adults. Yeah, I love that feature. Key fob, high gloss black, nothing special. Then door closing sound. Sounds quite decent, nothing special, nothing bad. And of course, really cool here, inside of the doors, the Skoda umbrellas. So you can have some kind of Rolls-Royce feeling, sometimes against rain, or today maybe that, oh, against the sun. Yeah, but you see, when it's windy, yeah, that about the quality of this small umbrella. Yeah. Maybe shall we continue with the interior? But I think it's still a good idea, but just so that you know, it should be used in rain while it's not that windy. And look at that, inside of the doors, in the lower pockets, here felt covering on the inside. Even BMW doesn't have that anymore in the 5 Series. And this is here the rear door, and even that has felt covering on the inside. Inside of the doors looks cool here with microfiber. This is here, the base is selection, and then there's the lounge interior, so a mid-trim level. Base would be fabric seats. These here are then the mid-trim level seats with microfiber, and they look amazing, right? And this gray microfiber here, and also feels really nice. They also have this perforation and so on, contrast stitching. And this cockpit layout here is also super interesting, here with more microfiber. So this mid-trim is definitely the way to go. It even looks more premium than the highest trim. This resembles the outside grille a little bit. And then another decor element right here in this wood atmosphere, I would say, but it's not real wood. Then you have here manual closing also of the vents, and still manual control, for example, climate unit. You can press it, then it becomes the seat heating. And also in the middle part here, for example, change the driving modes physically. Click it, fan speed, click it one more time, where the vents are coming from, volume. You can actually individualize it also in the infotainment, what function it supposed to be. You either get a 10-inch screen, smaller one, or this one here optional 13-inch, about 1,000 euros extra or 1,500 euros extra if you have it together with the head-up display. Left side always digital instruments, and the steering wheel here has this 0-spoke design in the lower part that kind of looks a little bit weird, but I love that we still also have a physical interface. Switch gear is now here at the steering wheel for drive, reverse and back. And the build quality, once again, here is really good, and the whole atmosphere, I feel, is actually better than the Passat, indeed. More high quality, and also the physical interface, I prefer that. Yeah, just the screen of the Passat is, here is 10 or 13, and the Passat is 13 or 15. So the Passat has a bigger screen. You can slide this middle console here open like this. Adaptive cup holders. In the front, you have inductive charging for your phone, also cooled. 2 USB-C chargers, and really nice, this microfiber covering here for this middle console, split opening, and then you can put these things here out, and this like the screen wiper microfiber thing, and more space underneath. I really like the seating comfort here in the front, also gives you enough shoulder support. Here you can also adjust the head restraint, and you can also adjust the seat very well here. For example, put it a little bit longer in the front, and this let's say interesting mix between here electric for the back part and here for lumbar support, at the same time manual height control and also manual forward and backward. We know VW, Skoda, Cupra, Seat, Audi have had problems a lot with infotainment, software issues and so on. Now they cleaned it up and also easier to use. This is here, for example, the DCC selection here. When you go individual configure, then you can set your individual mode, go from comfort to sport, how stiff the suspension is. That's actually quite cool. My favorite setting, all the way to comfort, but steering to sport. And here to the assistance systems, here you can also easily deactivate the speed warning in the EU. And you don't have to click here. It's also okay when you click here on the inside, that's good. And Apple CarPlay integration like this all the way over the screen. So actually now a decent job. Here in the top part, that's interesting, is a USB-C charger for a dash cam, so it's good positioning. And then you can have this, we have these sliders. I don't like these sliders so much, but the panoramic roof is actually quite cool because it's super, super large. First of all, you have this shade for really hot days, and of course you can also completely open it. And then you can have somewhat a Skoda Superb convertible with this one here. Let me see. That's the maximum opening here. Engines. The base will be a 1.5 liter turbo petrol engine mild hybrid, the one we can see right here. This will also build the base for the plug-in hybrid version, now with an electric range of realistic 80 kilometers plus, 50 miles and so on, 20 kilowatt hours battery net. Then there will be a bigger petrol engine, a 2 liter TSI, also with all-wheel drive in the higher spec. So it's front plus rear on demand, and the classic 2 liter TDI, the turbo diesel, the bigger horsepower version, also with all-wheel drive available. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the all-new Skoda Superb. And we're starting here with the 1.5 liter petrol engine, turbo petrol. And this is used either singularly or also as base for the plug-in hybrid version. So this has then dual use, so to speak. This beeping function is the speed warning when I also exceeded like by 1 kilometer an hour. It already beeps. That's the new EU law. Doesn't have to do anything with Skoda, it's just new regulation. You can turn them off. In some vehicles it's harder to turn them off, in some it's easier actually. And interesting with this engine is it is mild hybrid and also cylinder on demand. And it also shows you actually in the instruments on the left side. So at the moment I'm going here uphill, so speed doesn't show, but as soon as we're going downhill again, or maybe a minute straight, then we have actually situations here, for example, I go off throttle, it says coasting. So then the RPMs drop, the engine is more or less, shut down, there's no fuel being used, and the car is just coasting, meaning not using any fuel. And this is of course then an efficient thing to do, and it's also possible because of this mild hybrid system. So you can also regenerate some energy, but it's a very, very tiny battery. It's just used as some kind of buffer. What is especially also with the new Skoda Superb is the new suspension. At Volkswagen with the Passat they call it DCC Pro. Here they call it DCC Plus. And it also adapts according to the driving mode. My favorite setting is actually all the way set to comfort, but then steering a little bit to sport. So then you have a little bit more steering feedback. And the suspension is really doing a great job, I have to say. Here we have 18-inch wheels mounted. Also helps if you don't go for the biggest wheels. When you have set all the way to comfort, it still rules in a certain spectrum, this suspension here, adaptive suspension. And it really gives you a very elaborated ride that you can think about, hey, maybe I don't have to go for a more expensive car just to get a better suspension. And this gives you a very smooth ride overall. Also, we've been talking about this topic, normal car or SUV. And here I can once again say, when you sit a little bit lower in the vehicle, it also applies less G-forces, for example, when going left and right, also on the passenger. And to me, these normal cars are in a way, especially long term, more comfortable on your body than the SUVs, which are a little bit higher, are more comfortable when getting in and out and just sitting stationary. But as soon as you start driving, then I feel the non-SUV cars are more comfortable, and that also counts here for the Skoda Superb. Together with these really comfortable seats, microfiber covering here, I can really recommend this middle trim, which feels more high class than the high trim model of the Skoda Superb. One question is also, is this engine here singularly enough? And I have to say, since we had these, slight uphill areas, when it goes uphill, it feels a little bit sluggish. So when you have the plug-in hybrid drivetrain, you still have some, electric energy left. Then it's actually fine, I feel. But here, singularly, going uphill, you feel maybe it's not enough power. Then maybe the 2 liter TSI would be better, the plug-in hybrid, or the 2 liter diesel, which is still a very important engine for this very vehicle here. We'll also take it on the motorway now and see about the acceleration and see how it performs there. Overall, the first driving impression is really this smoothness of the ride. This DCC, dynamic chassis control, the adaptive suspension, it now employs a 2-valve technology, and you also feel it while driving because it's just more comfortable. Yet again, that's the special thing, it does not lose sportiness. So although it's comfortable, you can set it all the way to comfort, it's still sporty in the ride. And you can also change the driving mode in the lower part here when you have selected that for the driving was easy to select it. I love that in comparison to the Passat, where everything is basically in the screen. Now I switch it to the sport mode. Then we also have some kind of, let's say, preloading. As for the gears, everything is turned out higher. Suspension is set to a sporty note. And let's see now, we accelerate on the motorway from 50 kilometers an hour. Let's go. Plop, that's 100. Don't want to overtake on the right. Sketchy situation here in traffic. But you see, if you really push it, due to the turbo, it is enough power somewhat, but you really have to push it though. So, yeah, sometimes it's it's complicated to get on the motorway when no one lets you in actually. There we go. Portuguese traffic, welcome to that. Yeah, but in a way, I also like driving in Portugal because, yeah, in a way, it's more mixed up than in Germany, I would say. But then some people are also more, let's say, relaxed, and in Germany it's maybe more strict. Yeah, so it's always a pro and con. Now on the motorway, also very important for this vehicle, it's so much, used as a fleet vehicle, business use, salesman and so on, long motorway journeys. And here we can go some 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, even a little bit more, 120, 70 miles an hour, and it's very silent. So they worked on the noise insulation. Very low noise level overall, so you can imagine very long motorway journeys. And even if I have set here the DCC to sport, oh no, it says 2-cylinder mode by the way, so cylinder on demand. When at the moment I'm going downhill, so I'm not coasting actually, so the engine is not shut off, but it is in a 2-cylinder mode, so it's also then saving some fuel. So yeah, it's the third camera. So, and where the DCC here also at higher speeds, doing a phenomenal job. This really feels like a very sophisticated vehicle now. So, is it a premium ride? Definitely it is. This feels like a very premium ride. If we compare the different driving modes once again, by the way, so here in the normal mode, everything is set like in the middle. Then we can also go to comfort mode, very soft suspension, and the individual mode I've set to the most comfortable suspension at the moment. But even when I switch to sport mode, yes, you hear that, there's directly a gear shift down. But the thing is that because it is adaptive and always rules in a certain spectrum, yes, you feel here now like the small bumps in the sport mode are a little bit stiffer then. And then in the comfort mode, it's really evened out even better. But however, is it already a new Macan there? New Macan electric? Oh, it is. That must be, it's a prototype vehicle still. Interesting. Oh, new Macan electric. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Prototype vehicle ride. Interesting. Yeah, of course, we will also drive the all-new electric Macan for you very soon. Stay tuned for that and check out the static review if you haven't seen it so far. Yeah, but I'm really happy with the all-new Skoda Superb here on the motorway. It was the same with the Passat. You might ask yourself, is it a huge difference to the Volkswagen Passat? Honestly, no. I think it's good that we have here the physical dials that I can also easily change the temperature and so on while driving. I'm not sure why it would do that. So here, look at that. It goes back from the GPS and then that's, I don't think that's any use. Let's see, if I have the car internal GPS, then you can see it is just the overlay. Then it makes sense. Then it's okay actually to have that interface there and not only down there because it's placed relatively low. But when I'm in the CarPlay GPS, yeah, this, playing together of the systems should have been better. So this makes everyone will use Google Maps and Apple Maps and so on. And then when it always disappears when you use the climate unit, come on, Skoda, really? This needs to be fixed by software, definitely. But all the hardware is just fantastic. For here, as it stands here, like this around 50,000 euros in price, it's hardly anything at that price that gives you this kind of smooth, sophisticated premium drive, and especially for the motorway, that's awesome. And this very engine here is okay when you keep it also like steady like this on the motorway, but when you use the strong acceleration a lot, then you might want to have something more powerful. But like this, when you're once at speed, then it's also fine to have this one and go with the lower entry price or so. So that's actually fine. At the end of the review, we will also keep you updated with our today's test consumption. Now once again to the sport mode. We switch to the 2-liter TDI, also with 150 horsepower. Acceleration, let's go. Plop, that's 100. So, yeah, I mean, it's 9.3 seconds, the official figure, both for the 1.5 MHEV turbo petrol engine with 150 horsepower we've just driven, and also here for the 2-liter TDI with 150 horsepower. So the acceleration figure is kind of the same. I would say the petrol engine starts a little bit more from the get-go, and the TDI has this torque advantage then when you're already at speed, also more on the motorway and so on. But if you want more punch, then you would need the 2-liter TSI, the plug-in, or then here from the diesel, the higher horsepower spec. You could go for this one here. Advantage here for the diesel is that it has, like some 5 mpg plus for you, or minus 1 liter on 1 kilometer. So here around 6 liters on 1 kilometers, 40 mpg US, 47 mpg UK, something like that. Other than that, of course, in the city, yeah, as for the noise, it doesn't make too much of a difference. Maybe when you're driving really, really slow, but soon then the tire noise and so on around you picks up. So the difference is more in how you approach the throttle pedal. The petrol is, a little bit more applying power now. The diesel takes a while, but then the torque sets in, then it pushes. So that's like the difference in the characteristic. Yeah, but it's more, I would say, a philosophy thing, and if you're really running high mileage every day, then the diesel could make sense. Here now, a really good, nice way here to test it also in the agile driving performance. In the sport mode, the DCC is once again set to a sporty note. Good control also from the steering wheel, so it's a nice direct input. So it is also fun in the sporty driving characteristics. I still feel it's set on the comfortable note from the suspension, but that's also a good choice, I really like the decision they've taken here. So here also when you're going from left and right, you have good feeling, good control of the vehicle. You don't feel too much that it's actually kinda long. As for assistance systems, we can select or deselect them here at the steering wheel with the press of the right thumb. So that's a good thing to have, that you can easily activate or deactivate them. And the cruise control is set here with the left stalk column. We can also go back to the normal mode. So in the left stalk column here, and then you have the adaptive cruise control. And all the assistance systems are also done by Skoda. So if you ask yourself, is the Superb more a Passat now, or is the Passat more a Superb now? Definitely the Passat is more Superb now, because the lead in the whole building process is being handled by Skoda. It's time for a full driving review of the VW Golf facelift, all about the updated changes and how good is it now. With Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the front. Here now with the illuminated front logo, and you can even see this in daytime. Even better, of course, at night and so on, but pretty cool, together with this light unit that has the stripe right here, horizontal way. So you have a base LED that does not include the illuminated logo. Then you have the LED Plus headlamps. They are usually included then in the mid-trim, and optional, the IQ light. This is the matrix LED, we also have them right now. And the illuminated logo begins with the LED Plus trim, but of course also included then in the IQ light. The IQ light only adds then the cascading turning indicators. That looks also pretty fancy, and also a special light show for the beginning and goodbye light. Again, very well to see then at night. Then towards the side profile, this is the hatch today, 4.28 meters or 169 inches. Of course, there's still the variant, the Estate, which is slightly longer and also slightly longer in wheelbase. This is, by the way, here the style trim, so a mid-trim level for you. 18-inch wheels. You start with 16-inch, then you have 17, 18 also possible, and if you go like GTI R, also 19 would be possible. Then you have the typical Golf shape, which is always defined here by this very, very strong C-pillar right here. As for suspension, you have a base suspension, then you have a fixed sport suspension. You can also get a bad road suspension. And optional, also the DCC, Dynamic Chassis Control, a €1,000 extra. This is then the adaptive suspension. 27,000 euros or pounds is, by the way, the base price, naked, lowest trim and so on. And later I'll also tell you more about the concise cost here of the equipped vehicle in the mid-trim. Then if you have the matrix LED, the LED, the highest trim of that, here you can also see this new signature here in the rear in this three-dimensional styling. So it has become a little bit more modern on the exterior in the styling with this facelift here. One of my favorite features is always here this flipping logo. The rear view camera is hidden underneath it, and it also works here to fold up the trunk. Here, especially when you have the turning indicators on the rear with the IQ light. Look at that here in this layer design, but then also together with the cascading form, that is something really spectacular, isn't it? For the key fob, we have the typical high gloss black stuff, I want to say. Then door closing sound. Is it still Golf? Yeah, it is. The Golf started that actually, so yeah, both front and rear, nice door closing sound. Then inside of the doors. The top part here is slightly soft. Then we have in the mid-trimmer here this insert. Then microfiber, because we have the special style plus Ergo active seats. And then see here this like emergency vest, nice felt covering on the inside of the doors. Yeah, BMW does not have that nowadays. And then the real buttons at the steering wheel, I like that too. We have real buttons. So at BMW they make a comeback now. Only the Golf R has the capacitive BS buttons still. All others then here with the real stuff. Then new digital cockpit, left side, and also infotainment up on the right side. Zoom more to that. First of all, the seats. You get base fabric seats, but you can also go for these Ergo active seats. They have then microfiber on the inside and some fabric on the outside. So they are very beautiful, I feel, and ergonomics are also really good. And with the microfiber, it's also, let's say, extra cozy. You can put this lower thing here a little bit more out like this. And in this case, also the electric one, like with forward, backward, back of the seat. And this the electric lumbar support. And with 189, 6'2", I still have enough headroom left. Steering wheel control, manual, up and down, in and out. For the steering wheel, they have no animal alternative yet from the base source. Driver POV, good control central here, where you can also change the view of the digital instruments. Different stylings are available, and you can also change the content on the inside, on the middle, for example, or here this map view, full screen, and you also get a head-up display like this, also very good to see. And then if you look over, you see the new 13-inch screen, the bigger one. There's like the 10-inch screen as base available, and here these sliders, they are also illuminated at night now at least. And the cockpit overview here, soft touch dashboard, and then there's an ambient lighting integration between that. It looks actually quite fancy. Horizontal stress from these vents. Glove box here, also probably dampened, and nice sound when I also close that, like that. Once again, a view at these seats. You also have ISOFIX here on the passenger seat in the front. That's definitely also good to know. And here this armrest, properly attached, space underneath. There's nothing more on the inside. You can also slide this here forward. Then you cannot close this here, but you can actually make it an open area, or then this cup holder. However, this is not holding things that tight, I have to say. Then a lot of high gloss black piano lacquer here. You have to clean it often with a microfiber towel. Then you have inductive charging pad here in the front with a cooling hole so it doesn't overheat. Then you have some hotkeys here to access the climate unit or the driving modes, but they're not that practical to hit. They don't give any feedback and so on. And so probably now, since you have this new 13-inch screen, it's maybe easier to hit it right here. Also here for the DCC, for the adaptive suspension, which you can individually configure then here now. That's also a quite good feature. And the whole software itself, big step forward. You can now easily access here the driving modes, for example, here, and this always stays in this place, or assistance systems and so on, deactivating the speed warning. So way better than before. Software has been a huge issue with the Golf, and now, well, you can also change temperature like this, or pressing, or then with the sliders. It's not the best system in the world, and I wouldn't say that there will be no errors anymore, but it's definitely better than before. You can also use these USB-C chargers or connectors if you don't want the wireless CarPlay or Android Auto connection. Rear seats, top part is here all hard plastic and so on, but we have nice covering at the inside of the doors. And in this trim also here the microfiber at the inside of the doors. And we also have the microfiber seats at the rear, Isofix here, outsides. It also folds, you don't have that flying around and so on. In the middle part you can fold down this, cup holes, not adaptive though, and then it's then here the ski hatch towards the trunk, you can use that. The comfort itself on the seats is actually very decent, so I like the comfort here. And the headroom here with 189 6'2" also fits. However, the legroom here in this Golf hatch version, yeah, that doesn't really work for tall adults. The Audi A3 and the Golf hatch has this short wheelbase then, and the Skoda Octavia, the Golf variant, and the Cupra Leon and the Leon ST, they have the long wheelbase version. Then you would have more legroom here in the rear. So that is the only catch then here with the Golf hatch. You have another climate unit here in the lower part for the rear seats and USB-C chargers in the lower part. Quick look at the trunk or the boot here, meter or 40 inches in width and 75 centimeters or 30 inches in length. Underneath there's more space, for example also for a replacement tire. And here you can also put it up here. It's a nice solution, right, that it stays in place and you can maybe put some things underneath it, or maybe groceries around the subwoofer, something like that. And folding 2/3, 1/3 split, or with the ski hatch then for the full. And here, see this small pictogram, very interesting, right? So should you forget, you can also put your hand underneath here, then when everything is dirty on the outside, then you can close the trunk like this without getting dirty hands. And the interesting thing is also that the pictogram is on both sides, and they even have the right thumb side here like this, and then here the thumb is to the left on this one. So yeah, that's attention to detail, isn't it? And at 4,63 meters or 182 inches, this is the longer Golf variant, the Estate, a little bit over 6 centimeters or 2 inches longer wheelbase. This also brings you more legroom in the rear. We'll take a look at that very soon. And that's also a nice shot here, the Golf variant next to the all-new Passat variant. So the bigger brother actually, now in this new generation, even longer than before. Advantage for the Golf variant, Estate, wagon, however you want to call it. Here with the Golf hatch, you remember I was like this with the knees, and here I still have a little bit space then in front of my knees, so definitely better for tall adults in the rear. Now the loading area of the variant, the Estate, 610 up to 1,640 liters. The length is the difference here. First of all, let me get out the luggage. So whereas the hatch trunk would end right here at 75 centimeters, this is here more than a meter or 40 inches. So this is the length difference then here. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, with the Estate version. And of course, just easier to load things in and out. And also here the folding mechanism for the seats. It's really easily done. When you put in the head restraints, it's also folding down almost all the way. There's a little bit, going up here when you put up the head restraints, and again, like this and this, then you come down a little bit flatter. Under the hood, we have the 1.5 TSI turbo petrol engine. We also have it right here, 116 or 150 horsepower, manual or DSG automatic. Based on this engine is also the plug-in hybrid that has the biggest change with the facelift, because it gets a new 20 kilowatt-hour net battery, so way more pure electric reach then, so that is, or range, that is very important. And then there's still the 2-liter TDI, and of course the sporty model GTI and the Golf R. They are based on the 2-liter TSI turbo petrol engine for the biggest boost and best, like the best acceleration figures. German Autobahn. I will shift back to second gear. Yeah, manual shifting action for you here today. Sport mode. Woo! That was a nice ride with great shifting. Oh, and also great feeding on the brakes here. Yeah, I mean, so many vehicles are with automatic these days, and especially like the new vehicles we have then as test vehicles. I mean, in traffic situation and so on, it's always great to have an automatic, just course just more comfortable. But this one here, like when you really hammer in the gears, that's lovely, isn't it? It's actually really thick, this shifting lever here. So we have the 1.5 TSI with the manual shifting today, 6-speed. The alternative would be a 7-speed DSG. Yeah, and I mean, it is on the one hand a matter of price. The manual is of course still less expensive. And it can also be more fun, indeed. So this is the rare Golf versions which is still available here with the manual shifting. Yeah, but on the other hand, of course, the DSG, the automatic 7-speed then is more comfortable, and it's also a very important difference here. When you have the DSG, it is in combination with the mild hybrid system. And this gives you like a liter on 1 kilometers, or maybe like 5 mpg plus or something like that. It is a significant difference, and here the manual version is without the MHEV system. And so on the long term, yeah, it could even be cheaper than to go for the DSG, you know, when you go into the amortization stage and overall the fuel savings and so on pay off. Then, general about this vehicle here. General vehicle. So, you see the rain is slightly picked up. The road is still totally dry, you know, it's just a little bit of rain in the air then. But noise insulation here at 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour is okay, but nothing really special. There, of course, if you think about, hey, maybe like thinking of Golf variant or versus Passat, there the Passat, for example, would be way more silent. Let me shift down back once again. Acceleration in 3rd gear. Yeah, so power-wise, I think it's okay. There's also no power difference between here the manual and the automatic. So around 8.5 seconds in the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. So this is not the difference. It's more about then the shifting comfort, or if you appreciate shifting, then like this. So here back to the noise insulation. Here 1 kilometers an hour, or maybe like 150 now, so like 70 miles an hour. It is not especially silent. I think it's okay, not super bad, but we already felt that with the Skoda Octavia, for example, that especially when you are at higher speeds, you do notice that it gets a little bit louder. So there, when you go a segment above that, also inside the brands like to Passat or Superb, you definitely get more noise comfort. We also are equipped here with the DCC, Dynamic Chassis Control, a 1,000 euro extra, and I was here in the sport mode, but still sport mode here, and also combination. We had 18-inch wheels on the outside, as you've maybe seen or heard earlier in the exterior part, and it delivers you very good comfort from the suspension. So when you have the DCC, you also have the more elaborated rear axle always, and here comfort mode, of course you get a little bit softer than in the dampening. You also feel that it also switches the steering input, and then it's a little bit too soft, I feel. But you see here, very small commands are transferred on the road. This one is also equipped with the optional progressive steering, 200 euro extra. In the sport mode, you have a little bit more feedback. And then I always do here the individual mode and configure it in a way that the DCC is most comfortable, but the steering is set on sport. So that way I have more feedback from the steering and I have a good control. Also when I'm doing some lane changes or something, and it's not overreacting. And at the same time I have good comfort from that DCC, from the suspension. So that's to me my favorite setting. I really like to have this specific setting here in this combination. And here it's also very windy outside today. We have to mention that when we talk about the noise insulation and so on. It always depends on the conditions, but still I feel for a Golf that stands like for the great sound of the closing doors and so on, it should give us a little bit more NVH comfort. So like this noise, vibration, harshness. Here, of course, shifting back is always good when you can accelerate it out a little bit further. The cool thing about the Golf is it always gives you this really compact, sporty feel. Oh, it's a little bit of like whistle noise here from the side mirrors coming in at 140 kilometers an hour. So yeah, noise insulation is probably the thing that I'm least satisfied here with the Golf. Steering input, suspension comfort, that is really awesome, especially the suspension here with the DCC when you go for that one. Great comfort here, especially in this segment, and I feel that even to the premium competitors, the Golf here holds a very, very good place in the comfort of the suspension. Have to notice that. And then we will also switch to motorways. We have this nice S combination here coming up. This thick shifting lever is awesome. I really love it. I mean, yeah, there are not so many good manual drive cars anymore, but this is really something. Starting to really like that, honestly, guys. And of course, always liking here one more lane change. Really feels good, you know. So sportiness and comfort in a very good relation. Here the hatch is of course the shorter one. It always feels a little bit sportier than the Estate, because the Estate is here on the longer wheelbase version. There's a difference in the Golf. Remember, Audi A3 and VW Golf sit on the short wheelbase of that platform. Skoda Octavia, VW Golf variant, and Seat Leon ST. And I believe also the Seat Leon hatch. All these are on the long wheelbase, so I think only the short wheelbase should be the Audi A3 hatch and here the VW Golf hatch. And it makes the car definitely more agile on the cost of less legroom. Of course, the Estate versions then, or the Skoda versions, they are definitely equipped with more legroom. That of course helps. Here now, S combination, I shift back. Great feeling for the vehicle. Look at that, beautiful. Also here, I don't have to oversteer. It gets out of the corners very nicely. Then I have to brake a little bit, go back here, search the gap. It's just a lot of fun, you know. This Golf here in the normal styling, to some it might look a little bit bland on the exterior and say like, you know, it's just a Golf. Everyone drives a Golf. In Germany, you see, you know, on the road, also when we do our driving parts here, the most cars you will see are Volkswagen Golf. And then Volkswagen Tiguan, and then Polo, Passat. You know, these are just the most frequent cars that have been bought in Germany the last 5 decades or something. You know, like that. But then again, when you start driving it, you feel there's a nice agile feeling. It is fun to drive. Here I have to cancel that one. There we go. Still have enough. What is this? Like, I hate it when people turn in and then they don't accelerate. And of course, blocks the people behind you as well. And we accelerate here on this new motorway out one more time. This was the speed warning, by the way, because the vehicle did not realize that we are already on an unlimited road. Still think it's 80, but it's not true. Here now a little bit more bumpy in the road, but even out very well. I can also go to 6th gear to have more consumption advantages. It feels very good here on the motorway, and I always like to do these high-speed driving tests because that really shows what the vehicle is made of. Yes, you might always say, for the majority of car customers, it's not really relevant how a car handles at 160 kilometers an hour, or like at, you know, maybe like at 80, 90 miles per hour, something like that. But it shows how good the car is, how the suspension is set up, and so on and so on. And I really like it here. So once again, the engineering knowledge and the background that went into this vehicle from all the experience also of the previous generation is really, really good. The Golf is still a very good compact vehicle. And with this facelift, I mean, from all the driving stuff, the most stuff it had it already before. The most important thing is that you have this software update here now, and then you're also less frustrated while driving because you don't have so many software fails, and it is quicker than before and so on, and better to control. So this also contributes to driving, and you know, that you can change it a little bit better. By the way, changing the driving modes is also possible with this button here below, but it's also a capacitive button, so it doesn't give you a good feedback, but at least you don't have to click in the infotainment system. But then the question is it quicker to click down below here, and is it less distracting clicking down below this capacitive button than clicking here in the screen? At that case, it might even be better to click in the screen, isn't it? Yeah, definitely very interesting. But like from all the driving features, minus it should be, you know, shouldn't be that loud at really higher speeds. That's the thing that I may be a little bit disappointed with. All the other driving behaviors we see here are really very nice. Consumption between 6 and 7 liters on 100 kilometers, so less than 40 mpg US, but a little bit more than 40 mpg UK. So the thing is, with the DSG, with the mild hybrid system, we could save some like a liter on 1 kilometers, or have some 5 mpg more. So indeed, I would tend to go for the automatic version. although I had a lot of fun with the manual shifting here today, and I know you guys also really like it. The car as it stands here right now, equipped, is 44,000 euros, so not exactly double the entry price, but here in this mid-trim level, I think it's a quite nice configuration that you have the most important features like the IQ light, the matrix LED when you drive a lot of night, and the option DCC, that you have more suspension comfort and so on. So maybe the microfiber seats, but then the models above that, they tend to get really expensive. So the equipment that it stands here right now, this mid-trim, is also probably one that I would also advise for. Today we're driving the Skoda Octavia, and is it actually better than the Volkswagen Golf, or especially the Golf variant? And how much space is there still to the Volkswagen Passat and the Skoda Superb, the segment above that? Because this one here is supposed to be even more elaborate now. On the exterior you can see, let's say the design is more streamlined. Here the grille leads over to the headlamps. LED is standard. These here are the optional Skoda crystal lighting lamps. These are the matrix LED lamps, so 40% more light power, especially in the high beam. This is also the Octavia Sport line. That means we have a sportier lower bumper. So if you want a sportier design and also a sportier suspension, because the Sport line as standard comes with the sport suspension, it is 50 millimeters lower and a little bit stiffer. Unless you go for the optional DCC, then the chassis control, that's the adaptive suspension, is always an option. We also have it equipped here today and see how it performs in driving later on. Sportline badge at the side, and you get a lot of lovely colors. You see that orange there, you see the race blue. That one would be the one I would actually go for. And this color here is Mamba Green, so they want to be even more colorful at Skoda. Wheels start 16-inch, then they go 17 or 18-inch. These here are the 18-inch wheels. You could even go for 19-inch in the Sport line or in the RS later on. Yeah, but this is maybe a good compromise, we'll find out. It's available here as Combi or as the more classic form, then it's the question how you call it, sedan, saloon, liftback, fastback, hatch. The thing is always about the definition, and for example in the UK configurator they call it hatch, but then it has this kind of sedan form. In Germany we call limousine, like sedan or saloon, but then again say, hey, it's not a separate trunk. It's like this liftback or fastback opening. So yeah, I mean, people use all kinds of definitions for it. Maybe pick the one you like. And this one here, the Combi, the Estate, is actually a little bit clearer what form it actually is. It's also the more popular model, especially for example also where I come from in Germany, which is a typical Combi land, definitely. Very slim and clean light signature for the rear, by the way. And when you activate the turning indicators or the hazard lights, there we go. In the matrix LED you also have a cascading effect. In the front, when you activate the turning indicators, let's take a look here. Oh, that looks nice, right? So it replaces the daytime running light. Fancy stuff. Skoda lettering here, really large across the vehicle. And in the Sport line we have it also here all in black, for example here the Octavia. And the question was, of course, initially, does the Autogefühl fake exhaust police? You can soon also buy the t-shirt if you like. We're preparing the shop still at the moment. Does it have a job for you here today? Well, underneath, very clean design, no fake exhaust tips at all, so that's actually quite good. The overall length, by the way, is at 4,70 meters or 185 inches. The size here is always somewhat in between. The Octavia has always been famous for that you already get a lot of space on the interior without being too big on the exterior, and of course we'll find out today if that is still true in this generation here. Let's check out the interior, because there's more interesting things to come. First of all, look at that. Wow, the Sport line has these very special sport seats. These are beautiful. I mean, you get base fabric seats, for example, also a fabric leatherette mix. Here the Sport line has this gray fabric and also this nice quilting. Here, look at that here on the seat area. You can really feel that quilting here, really beautiful. You have more shoulder support as well, integrated head restraint. That is really cool, isn't it? And I have to say, sometimes seats look sporty, but then they are maybe not that comfortable, but they are super comfortable indeed. Wow, I mean, this really tells like grown-up vehicle, almost like in a luxury sedan. So this really brings a lot of premium atmosphere to a segment which is still somewhat affordable. So I really like the seat approach here. It's sporty and comfortable at the same time. Good support here at the shoulder area with 189, 6'2". Still have enough headroom left. There's also a panoramic roof available if you like. This one here not equipped with that one at the moment. And as deco element, we have here this, let's say it's like a carbon fiber look. I would say it's not real carbon fiber, but you maybe also hear it. But it's actually quite cool. Here also then with the leatherette accentuations, contour stitches. The dashboard is also soft and has a nice structure, so I really like the build quality. It's very clean here also from the whole cockpit layout. The steering wheel goes in and out, up and down in a manual way. Key fob in high gloss black. Yeah, not my favorite honestly. Here the door. Nice doors closing sound, and to the rear. Also nice, so like that. And for the build quality on the inside, this is here a structured material, also soft touch. Then on the inside here, also feels really nice. And then here we have also a felt covering on the inside. Yeah, we hardly see it with premium vehicles nowadays, so that is also well done. Then we have, a very nice entry badge here as well. This is, you can really touch it, actually it's three-dimensional. Then we also have this carbon fiber-like deco element here on the left side already. Complete new steering wheel. This is, however, the Sportline steering wheel. It means perforation at the side. Not animal-free available yet, though. What I like, however, is that I still have real commands here on the steering wheel for the digital instruments, for example. Middle console, let's start here in the front. Inductive charging pad, also fits for bigger phones. It's also cool, that works very well next to two USB-C chargers. Then there's this DSG shifting lever, very well integrated. This here, by the way, is theoretically also for a phone, like here, and also for coins, but you can also take it out. The thing is, if you have that one in, you cannot close this, take it out, then you can actually close this shade in here for the cup holders. They are also adaptive. And then this armrest is well attached, you can slide it forward. More space underneath, for example, for cables or whatever. So this also, everything solid. The only thing maybe, if Leah can show that to us here, like the inside door handles. This is hard pack material. This may be the thing that I don't like that much, but the rest is actually very well built. You also still have some real physical hotkeys here in the middle console. You can also click them here, for example. Oh, this is like the, max blowout here. So for the climate unit, for example, here for the driving modes. And then they also switch in the infotainment system, which is kind of responsive now. You would start base Octavia with 10-inch, and an option you get this here, that 13-inch screen. It would be standard for the RS model, for example. And you have a volume slider in the lower part, no climate slider. The climate unit is always controlled inside the screen. Also direct hotkey, for example, for seat heating. And then you have a pretty simple menu. You can also use the car internal map, and here on the top you can also easily deactivate, for example, certain assistance systems, but it also works while driving here on the steering wheel. I'll also soon show that to you. And if you have DCC, the adaptive suspension, you can also click it right here or click it below. Normal, eco, sport mode. In the sport mode you get more feedback and so on, or you can also individualize your settings then for this driving mode and maybe keep this mode. So the infotainment system now also with the upgrade is even quicker than before, so overall actually also quite satisfying. Digital instruments, 10-inch, just here on the very far side. This is not a screen, and also on the left side for the temperature. And you can also change the contents, for example, more to a map content. Also what you want to see here, so it's kind of flexible. And you can also get a head-up display. Rear doors, here in the rear is hardback, but at least it is somewhat structured. And in the lower part you have some fabric on the inside. That's actually nice. And especially for the kids, it's good that you have a manual shade right here, and it also goes really far there. Look at that, it's cool. And then how much space do we have when I'm still driving as a tall person? And this is also like the very voluminous sport seat, still works here. So 4 adults, 4 tall adults is no problem. Here once again you can see how the shade works. There we go. And it's very comfortable in the rear also with a nice fabric. And it also has this Sportline style here with the quilting both on the lower and also here on the top area. So that is also very well done. And you might have noticed these very special head restraints like this. You can fold this one forward. It looks like a bull or something, and this is a very cool feature indeed, because when you fall asleep, you know this effect that it does create a lot of neck ache and stuff. And then you can do it like this. When you fall asleep, then yeah, you're caught like on the right or here on the left, and that's a really cool thing, that you don't fall asleep and get up and then yeah, everything is hurting. So a very cool and clever idea for sure. Other ideas are, for example, here, this is like a blanket holder, so there's like a blanket on the inside. This can be attached to one of the head restraints. Might make most sense here, for example, in the middle one. Then in the middle part, let's put down this. Here, the cup holders, they are not adaptive though. No, there's nothing on the front. That's basically it. Here you can also pull down the ski hatch and reach through the trunk, for example. In the middle part, you're also somewhat flexible, because here you have USB-C chargers. Then you have this open area, or you fold these here out. There we go, and then you have cup holders. Yeah, just like we've seen in the Superb. So indeed, this is like a smaller Superb now, climate unit. And what you can also do is just pull this whole thing out if you don't want it actually. Yeah, then you have more space here. And maybe then here for the fifth person also works, maybe on shorter trips. So there's definitely more than enough space here. This is, by the way, like these features, you don't have to get them, but here you can pull this one up and then, for example, here, put a smartphone here, or like an iPad, or like a tablet. Doesn't need to be from Apple, of course. And then you can also pull it sidewards here for the, you know, movie watching and so on. And I think it's better than some fixed multimedia systems and so on. And when you're not using it, it's of course always better for crash safety here just to pull it out. And that's also very easily done here with these here. Yeah, you have this hole right here. So I think overall the solutions they have been thinking about here is, you know, it really goes into the everyday driving life. And headroom, 6'2", 189 is also fine. So very well usable rear here. And Leah is showing us even more features, because there's more to discover. For example, here this split here of the back pocket. So there's a big one, and then there's a small one, for example, once again for a smartphone also. And in the front, there's the famous Skoda trash bin, the small one you can put here in the side door pockets. And in the top here, for sunglasses, there's also special storage, like this. Oh, yeah, cool. What about the trunk or the boot? Electric hash here. 640 up to 1,700 liters. The liftback, what I call it, has 40 liters less actually in the base setup here. This is like a two-step here for this cover, but it's actually very clean. Just here, this very edge, this is kind of sharp, so be aware not to like put things in and out and then like come like this here. That could be maybe a little bit unpleasant. Then here's a mirror of 40 inches in width. The length here is actually a little bit more. It's like 1 meters 5 or 41 inches. That's actually really good. Then you can move that whole thing here, for example, here left and right, for example, a little bit forward, like here, and then have a split here. And these here, you can also individually set to how you want to split your luggage right here. So always nice solutions here. They even are sticking here to the ground. You can fold this one up. That I also want to show you here, like a backpack can even fit here in this side hole. So large is it. So very spacious indeed. Underneath, there's this cover mat you can also use above that you can, you know, clean it easier or something. And underneath there, look at that.
Surprise.
Even more layers. Oh, there's even a full replacement tire. And then folding very easily here, left and right. And that's how it's supposed to be. It directly folds completely flat. That's actually pretty nice, isn't it? And then this thing here, I never like really understood it, I have to say, because I mean it's definitely interesting. So you have to fold it out like this. So and then here on the side you can see these are like hangers. You can put them in or put them out, and there you can put this one in like this. Then you have another storage space here on top, like maybe for a jacket or something. Is this how it's supposed to work? I mean, I'm always wondering, like, what would you actually put here on top of it? And would you use that, or are you maybe an Octavia customer and you have something, like a cap here? Oh, the Autogefühl cap is also soon available. Maybe like that. So tell me in the comments, what would you actually put here? You know what? Since we have packed up now, I more and more see the advantages of that one. So I didn't see it at first, but now, for example, like the luggage is underneath. And on top we put like the cap and the jacket and so on. This is actually a clean solution and to have a little bit more order in the trunk. So yeah, I understand it better now. Thank you, Leah. I have to say, I'm really a fan here of the liftback or the fastback or the hatch or the whatever we call it. I love the form, the exterior form, and still the trunk is so well usable. You just lose the height a little bit here, but that's it. 40 liters less in the base setup. If your photo seat's a little bit less even, and this here is set up with a lot of nets, so this can also be available, that you have net underneath, net at the side and so on, and the same way you can also fold the seats right here and then have the full length again here, once again on Autogefühl. There we go. Engines, petrol and diesel. You start with the 1.5 liter turbo petrol engine, 1.5 TSI, 115 or 150 horsepower. Same horsepower split for the 2 liter TDI, the turbo diesel we have here right for you. 8.5 seconds is the acceleration figure in the 150 horsepower version we drive today. And then, not directly at the start, there will also be the 2 liter TSI available with all-wheel drive in the 204 horsepower spec, or in the RS, the most powerful one, 265 horsepower, then it will be the quickest version. And by the way here, also gas struts, you don't have that in the Golf, do you? So, driving here the new Skoda Octavia, and we'll accelerate onto the motorway here already in the corners. Oh, really nice. Feels very good from the steering control. Then driving modes here, normal mode, sport mode. In the sport mode here the RPMs are, let's say, a little bit preloaded because there's a gear lower. And from 90 to 130 kilometers now, let's go. Stop, that's it. And this is, you see, it's not the sportiest version, of course, but considering the normal versions of this vehicle here, of the engines, this is already the one that is already kind of powerful, the 2 liter TDI, 150 horsepower, and 8.5 seconds is the acceleration figure from 0 to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. There are less powerful engines available. There you can see that when you often have these situations where you accelerate onto the motorway, this is probably already a good choice if you don't want to go maybe with an engine that is even more powerful at a later stage. This vehicle here, first of all, is the Sport line. That would usually come with a minus 50mm suspension, sportier, lower. However, this one here is equipped with the optional DCC, the dynamic chassis control, the adaptive suspension. That one kind of makes this balance between normal, comfortable driving and also sporty driving. This is, of course, a good thing that you kind of can get both. At the moment here, since I'm in a sporty mode, it still feels comfortable. 18-inch wheels we have mounted here today. There are 19-inch available theoretically, but you can also stick with these 18-inch. Probably a better comfort choice than the 19 ones, and they already look really good. And here, of course, the road so far is very good. Then this combination also works very well. Let's see if we can somehow feel a difference when we go back to the normal mode here, for example, then do the lane change. Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's definitely notably softer, but both work. That's the thing about the DCC, the adaptive chassis control, or the dynamic chassis control, that no matter if you are in a sport mode or in a normal mode, it always rules in a certain spectrum, and you just move the spectrum to plus or minus, basically. And so both when you're in normal and in the sport mode, it will work out in the comfortable and in the sportier way. You just have a different threshold, so to speak. And to me, that's actually a very good choice. If you order an Octavia and want both more sportiness and comfort, it's always one of the most important or best options to pick here with the DCC, definitely. So maybe at some point, if you watch this video in a very early stage, maybe you cannot order it yet. That depends on the availability. But as soon as you can, or if you want to order one, definitely would recommend to get that one, because This makes the ride especially way more comfortable when the road is a little bit uneven. Here now in this construction site on the motorway, we also feel that. In that case here, it's always better to stay in the normal mode. And the seats also play a major role. The seats, it's also kind of the same thing. They look sporty, they are sporty, they hold you tight, but at the same time, they take weight off your shoulders from the lower and kind of like, yeah, ease the lower back area. So we're both very happy here with these sport seats, especially for tall people. It's really cool, and yeah, this already feels kind of upmarket. As for the noise insulation, here at 80 kilometers an hour, that was totally fine. When we're driving 130 or something,
It's loud, I think.
yeah, it was not that silent. I really have to agree with Leah about that. Then when you think about, hey, I mean, this looks really elaborate. Is there still like a gap to the Skoda Superb or to the VW Passat? As for the noise insulation, I would really say. So they bring especially more calmness to the interior. Of course, a little bit longer as for the wheelbase. But besides that, the thing is that has always been cool with the Octavia. Even if you go for an entry-level Octavia, you already have a lot of space for not too much money. And you already feel like you're driving a full-size vehicle. This one does not really feel like, hey, I'm just driving a small or I'm just driving a compact car. This really feels already like a full-size vehicle without that you have to go to a premium segment and pay double the price or something. That has always been a special thing about the Octavia, and that is still the case here. It also feels a little bit more settled than the Volkswagen Golf, for example, because it's just a little bit larger and so on. That's the thing I really love about it, and you know how everything is starting now in this new generation. Indeed, feels a little bit more upmarket. What I also like is good user interface solutions. Like here, I press one time with my thumb here on the assistance systems that toggles here, and then I can activate or deactivate that speed warning that is mandatory in the EU now. That you have this beeping chime just when you exceed the speed by 1 kilometer an hour. And this is easily deactivated, and also if you want to deactivate the lane keeping assist. So they thought about, hey, these things are mandatory by law, so we have to put them in there. But at the same time, we hear from customers they often want to deactivate it. Let's find a quick solution where the customer can deactivate it on demand. And I think that's a good thing where you can also listen to the customer. Good size also of the steering wheel. I would wish for an animal-free material. Yes, that's the one thing, but the size itself is good, and also the steering input actually is nice. You can see here the commands are directory transport. There's no dead zone area of the steering wheel, so I have a very fine feeling for that steering wheel, and yeah, that accounts also for this, I would say, sporty, comfortable character of the vehicle. Indeed, it can actually do both. Traffic jam on the motorway is of course something you always face, and let's set the cruise control here, separate column on the left lower part underneath the steering wheel. And then you can see here, adaptive cruise control coming to a halt. And this is a way maybe then to relax a little bit here. You can see the car came to a stop. It automatically starts again. I can also set a different distance here in front. So there's a separate lever here where I can reduce or increase the distance to the car in front of me. Let's see how smooth that it works now. See here, easily picking up the speed. I'm not doing anything at the moment here. Yeah, that was maybe, this braking was maybe a little bit, we can reduce the distance, and that's maybe a little bit better. But overall that actually feels quite smooth. See here the lane assist is also active, and also here I can pick between, this was only the ACC, I can go to a speed limiter only, and I can also go to travel assist. And the travel assist is the most elaborated assistance system. They have upgraded the base, the standard assistance systems, and travel assistant here is like the full package. And here with the travel assist, then it also keeps you actively in the lane actually. And some city driving as well. Let's see how agile it is here. And is it maybe already too big? Well, actually not, because I said it feels like it is already a grown-up vehicle, but at the same time it feels small and agile enough also for more narrow roads and for the city and so on. And the good feeling for the steering definitely helps here too. Here I would leave it in the normal DCC mode to get the most comfort out of the vehicle, and that actually also works with potholes and so on. I think also the 18-inch wheels are a good choice, that you already have good design, at the same time don't lose too much comfort. 19, yeah, as I said, could be a little bit more critical here. Now also running over these train rails there, and yeah, this is actually also fine for that. Here, by the way, you also see it in the driving mode difference. This is the normal mode. It's a very good feeling for the steering indeed. And here when we go to the sport mode, then not sure if you can see the difference on the camera, maybe with the legs. What do you say? Yeah, do you feel it?
Yeah.
She's more like, oh, now it's like, sorry for that. Yeah, but see, this vehicle really does everything very well. It's a very good car for everything. No matter if you need something for the family, for the dogs, enough space on the inside. It's good on the motorway. It's good in the city. Big enough, not too big. The only thing I really have to say, like when we were driving like 130 kilometers an hour or something on the motorway, then there is still a gap to like a higher positioned vehicle, a segment above that and so on. Because the only thing I found here, yeah, it's not the best noise insulation at higher speeds. And also sometimes when it's really all the way straight with the travel assist, then it needs some steering movement that the car really still knows, hey, you're still there, then it doesn't annoy you or something. These are the only two things I could find in driving. And now we hop to the 1.5 TSI, sport mode. Let's see, do some acceleration from 20, let's go. Plop. That was 20 to 90 kilometers an hour. And the funny thing is that this 150 horsepower petrol and the 150 horsepower diesel, they actually both have the same acceleration figure, 8.5 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour. Depends on, I've seen that the Kombi is sometimes 0.1 seconds slower. Here I'm driving the sedan, by the way. Is it any different to the Kombi from the driving? Not really. Maybe you hear somewhat of a different acoustic, like just subjectively, but I mean, they don't differ so much. More or less the same chassis is the same and so on. Yeah, and the petrol engine versus the diesel, they do feel different. So sound-wise, although they are, both like the same speed in the acceleration, this one here feels a little bit more, stressed a little bit, I would say. Or what would you say? Like in this case, the diesel felt...
Accident detected ahead.
Oh, accident ahead? Let's see if that's true. Interesting. The GPS. So it says I can... Where is it supposed to be? I mean, sometimes the news here, they are accurate, sometimes not. Let's see if it's true. So actually the petrol engine, it felt like it would be working more. But the thing is that the petrol, of course, by the technology itself, is going with higher RPM, whereas the diesel is working at lower RPM. That's why the diesel doesn't feel as stressed. It's more about... interesting. Oh, the fun taxi thinks it's fun to overtake here, which doesn't make much sense here. Yeah, so the thing is with the two technologies, the diesel makes sense if you go like high-speed motorway a lot of times. And the petrol makes more sense if you are frequently doing it in the city, for example. If you're frequently doing it in the city, yeah. If you're frequently driving in the city, and also the diesel is not that good when the car often stands like for a longer period of time or something. Here also the petrol engine, the 1.5, is having the mild hybrid technology, which especially comes into place when you go to the eco driving mode. So this sailing or coasting effect happens very often. For example, when I leave my foot off the throttle, there, I'm not sure you're going to see it on camera, the RPM dropped to 0. So at the moment, I'm not using any fuel, and the car is just rolling. And this is also possible without a mild hybrid technology in general, but the MHEV system helps that it happens more often. And here, what can also happen that when you're running to a traffic light or something, and you're on the brake, for example, you're not applying any throttle anymore, then it can also just drop to 0, and that's it. And you can save a lot of fuel. So in the city then, the MHEV will be better. On higher speed motorway, on the Autobahn, the diesel will be better. So it's both pro and con. It's more the question of when are you using the car and for what? You know, so what is the driving profile? Everything else, more or less the same, both as for the fastback, liftback, and for the Kombi, the estate. And weight distribution and so on doesn't also matter much. As for the engines, they're both 2-liter 4-cylinder, so it's all more or less the same. It's really more about like this acceleration characteristic, and yeah, you have heard it, that the end result as for the acceleration from the numbers is totally the same. At the end of our loop, we'll also give you an insight about the fuel economy here for the turbo petrol engine and see how that relates then to the diesel. The diesel will be a little bit better, but due to this mild hybrid technology, the difference won't be that large anymore as it maybe used to be in past times. Taking like a German reference price, begins at about 30,000 euros, and with all the bells and whistles, sport line, sportier engine and so on, 45,000 euros. So this is the span. Just when you put everything they offer in there, you can even reach some 50,000 euros. And then of course, you could already step to a Superb. Of course, then in the high trim, not cheap at all or something. But the thing is that even with, like say, mid-trim Octavia, you already get a quite large vehicle with a lot of space on the inside without paying too much. So the price-performance ratio, I think, is still very good. And also the quality you get. So indeed, as for the interior quality experience, it is somewhat like a small Superb or a small Passat. And definitely you get more vehicle than you would, for example, get with the Volkswagen Golf, actually, I have to say. Also, the user interface overall is actually pretty decent, and also the new software finally now more reliable and quicker and so on. What else is missing? A more consistent approach to animal-free seats. So that's where Skoda is lacking a little bit behind, but you see at least you get some very nice seats here. For example, also in the sport line, very comfortable and also kind of elaborate from the whole thing, and also more fuel saving now. With this diesel here, we drove more like 100 kilometers an hour on the motorway, sometimes 130, sometimes 80, 90. So very stable speed, that's like the minimum thing. And then we could score some 4 liters on 100 kilometers. That's like 60 mpg US, 70 mpg UK. A more realistic one, when you also have some sitting consumption inside and so on, would more like 5 liters on 100 kilometers. That's then like 50 mpg US, 60 mpg UK, but overall quite good. And consumption with the 1.5 TSI MHEV, around 5 liters, also really great. Of course, it can be a little bit higher when you drive faster, but that's still some 50 mpg US, 60 mpg UK. So there's about a liter, 1.5 liters difference, depending on the driving, or like 5 to 10 mpg difference from the petrol to the diesel. Both actually quite suitable. It really depends on the driving profile. Is Ascot grey rather grey or white? Well, compared to my trousers. If you want to see more about the VW T-Roc facelift, tune in now, let's go. This is Thomas with Autogefühl. Please subscribe if you haven't done so far. And the VW T-Roc, one of the most popular VW models, will it stay that way with this facelift? Well, here is sportier front, this honeycomb style front grille. This is also the sportier R line, and that also gets the daytime running light, the secondary daytime running light, so to speak, here in the lower part in a vertical way, whereas the style model, for example, would it feature here in this circle around. Then LED is now standard, optional, the so-called IQ light, that's the matrix LED. And turning indicators in the front look like this. The length at 4 meters 25 or 167 inches, so it has grown just a little bit because of the different spoilers in the front and the rear. Wheels from 16 to 19 inch, these here are 17-inch wheels. So this is kind of more a comfortable pick actually. You can of course go more for a visual pick as well. Here the R line comes with that badge right here, and we also have this black package here with the black side mirrors and also a contrasting black roof. Yeah, I mean overall a quite likable and sporty styling, crossover style, Golf platform, not too high, not too low. Option you can get the DCC, the adaptive suspension. We also have it equipped here today. Yes, the famous locks in the background are back. Long-term subscribers will know what I'm talking about. Here you can see the T-Roc facelift gets new tail lamps here, new signature. And if you have the optional matrix LED, then you also have a cascading turning indicator in the rear. Other than that, clean styling in the rear, this typical hatch style. However, Autogefühl fake exhaust police is right here for you, because these have been identified clearly as fake exhaust and need to be punished. The T-Roc still gets the classic Volkswagen key, and I think it's better than the new high glossy black one. Door closing sound. We have heard that better. Main criticism for the interior here, hard pack at the inside of the doors. Actually quite some interior changes. Let's begin with the steering wheel. At the moment these #capacitive BS buttons are not backlit. They soon will be. I'll show you how the difference is. The cool thing is the airline has the perforation at the sides. That's actually quite decent. But when you pick with the style trim level, you can still get normal buttons at the steering wheel. Seats here, over the more elaborated one, here with Alcantara or microfiber in the middle part. And you can also get the top sport seats for the R-Line. Then you would have integrated head restraint like in the T-Roc R. So the R-Line moves more towards the R, at least if you pick some options then. It's not the biggest SUV, however, with this crossover style, you already have more comfort than in a normal compact hatch. And the seats are really very good, have some side support, also plush surface here. You can put that lower area a little bit longer. So really happy with the seats and also the overall seating position here, steering wheel in and out with a actually quite huge span here. Now the ignition is turned on and these buttons here are backlit at the steering wheel. That looks really fancy, but to control it is harder than before. General overview here for the interior. You can see once again that perspective of the steering wheel, styling wise pretty cool, and also how you control it, actually quite cool. Then here also new screen updates, a lot of high gloss black piano lacquer when it's cleaned. It looks cool, but scratches, fingerprints, and so on and so on. And here the optional Climatronic with the capacitive BS control. It looks again cool, and for a capacitive control it is quite okay, but you can also stick with the base one. If you do not pick this option, then you have still some knobs to turn actually. Well, the T-Roc is not that long, and headroom wise it does fit with tall adults in the rear, 1.86 or 6'1". However, here knee room wise, when I'm driving, doesn't really work. The seats themselves are actually very comfortable. You have a good upright seating position here in the rear. It's just that when you have tall, then it gets kinda close indeed. Yeah, and towards the middle part here with the huge middle tunnel, even closer now to USB-C chargers you have there. The trunk 445 liters maximum. However, if you have all-wheel drive and also the subwoofer from a Beat sound system, it's a little bit less. Here, however, still usable, 78 centimeters in length or 30 inches, and in width it's a meter or 40 inches. However, here the cabin trolley does not fit in the vertical way, then it wouldn't close. And you can see that underneath then here in this case, there's just the subwoofer. But yeah, for the sound system, it's of course pretty cool. And you have a 2/3, 1/3 split, but also a ski hatch. And then you have a little bit less than 1.50 meters or 57 inches in length. Engines next to the 2-liter TDI. On the petrol side, you have a 1-liter 3-cylinder, a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder, or today here the 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol engine, a turbo, and also then with all-wheel drive, 190 horsepower. Front plus rear, however, then on demand this all-wheel drive system. And then you can also get the 300 horsepower strong T-Roc R. You can also check a video out of this when we have it on our channel. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the VW T-Roc facelift. Let's put it to sports mode because the German Autobahn test is to commence. Here with the 2-liter TSI, 190 horsepower and all-wheel drive, front plus rear on demand. Also put that bigger speed in here. So we start from about 40 kilometers an hour and let's go. And now it's struggling. Yeah, but we're already close to 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Oh, now it's getting like, wind noises here from the A-pillar. Yeah, windows really close, 200 kilometers an hour now. But really stable on the road, although it's, this crossover style. And only here now at 200 kilometers an hour wind noise have been picking up. Let's see when we drop. When is it stopping from the A-pillar? Let's see. Now at about 150, but feels really stable on the road. It's actually quite decent. Not the biggest wheels on there, 17-inch here today. And on the brakes, yeah, good and precise feeling indeed. So, of course, it doesn't feel as sporty as a Golf, which is a little bit lower. But here I think a good compromise, you know, between some more crossover SUV thing, higher seating position. It's actually quite decent and comfortable here in these Alcantara seats in the R-Line. Really like that. You can also get these top sport seats here, as I mentioned earlier. They are also really comfortable. So seating wise, really good job. And the steering input is actually also pretty precise. Soon also I go a little bit sportier and winding country roads and so on. But here so far, actually quite decent on the motorway. We can also hit the cruise control here with capacitive BS buttons on the steering wheel. You get used to it a little bit, but it's not really very good. Here when you press resume, you have 1 kilometer steps up or down or set, and with plus and minus 10 kilometer steps up and down. Sometimes you miss it a little bit. Here now in the dark in the tunnel you can see the climate unit in the lower part is also illuminated, so for a capacitive solution there it's actually quite decent, but I also told you earlier that you can also stick with base climate units when you do not pick this optional Climatronic actually. Overall it gives you a very balanced feeling, this vehicle, and it is very easy to control. It is one of the vehicles you just start in the morning, get inside, don't care about much else and just start driving. And it is this compromise that it's still small enough. See the blind spot monitor here as well in the side mirror. It's still small enough actually for the city, but it's already big enough that you can also take a longer Autobahn turn with this one here. So, and that's also making it so popular. As I said, it is one of the most popular VW vehicles now, meanwhile, overall. Now I'm getting off the motorway here, also a little bit faster in the corner. Let's see, getting precise from the steering. The suspension is not that soft nor hard. It's actually also a good compromise. And if you have that DCC, which we have here in a sport mode, it's a little bit stiffer then. But the adaptive suspension also then, you know, adapts in this area, and that's a good thing, because, you know, you can imagine it like this. So you start from the softest mode and then to the sportiest mode, but it's not like this, either soft or sporty. It's always the span, you know, where it moves depending on the road condition, and then you just move the whole span of it and not the individual setting. I hope you got what I meant by that. And that's actually the advantage then here of the adaptive suspension, so I can indeed recommend to pick this one. It's pretty dark in the face now, right? Here we go. Yeah, with the sun, a little bit tricky today, right? So now, traffic light to green. The engine is actually also quite responsive. As for the all-wheel drive, yeah, it is still a front-wheel bias. With the all-wheel drive here, of course, you have a little bit less of front-wheel bias than in this vehicle. So it is definitely more fun to drive it with the all-wheel drive. We've also a T-Roc R episode, of course, there it, you know, is even more stressed. However, it's not the most efficient engine. That would be rather the 1.5 petrol engine. Here the 2-liter TSI has more power, good punch here also on the motorway. However, then, yeah, as with fuel economy, also here with the all-wheel drive, something between 7 and 8 liters on 100 kilometers. That is more like 30 mpg US and 35 plus mpg UK. There's of course something better available as for the fuel economy. Alright, what about some agile driving? In the sports mode, by the way, also the S shifting mode is activated. That means the gears are turned up higher, later shifting up, earlier shifting down. You're coming quite well out of the corners. Of course, you feel that front wheel bias, yes, but the rear wheels are also helping then the more you apply the throttle. Also take a look at the steering wheel. I don't have to turn it that much. Quite progressive actually, and once again very nice accelerating out. It's also not that we have massive understeer or something. Yeah, it's really very well balanced, this vehicle. This is of course this original Golf platform, and yeah, it's a very good one, you know. So the balanced handling of this vehicle is probably the coolest thing in driving. It hasn't changed with this facelift at all, and this is also one of the things why it's still so popular. At any time, by the way, you can go back here to the D-shifting mode, either here with the big shifting lever. When you're here in the manual shifting mode and shift yourself, you press and hold, then you're coming back to either the S mode or the D mode, depending on which you have put in at this moment. The Skoda Karoq in our full driving review. A very strong front with the characteristic Skoda front grille and also this power dome on top of the logo. Optional, you can also get full LED headlights as we see them right now. 4.38 meters or 14'4" is the length of this compact SUV. You know there's already the bigger one, the Skoda Kodiaq. This one, the bigger brother of this one here. Platform is here MQB A1, and that means it's a sibling basically of the Seat Ateca, for example. Now taking a look at the rear, well, it is somewhat Golf. Every Golf platform, MQB platform vehicle looks a little bit like this from the rear. It's not necessarily bad, it's just not very exciting. However, the exciting feature here are those taillights. When you look at them in detail, they have this glass craftsmanship look, and this is also something special, unique feature for Skoda. So to open the hatch, I can either use the button below the logo or press it on the key button, or I can also use this foot opening mechanism right here. And it's really good that those mechanisms nowadays work pretty flawlessly. And here we go, 520 liters a standard setup, and when we flip all the seats and stuff, we can maximum get 1,800 liters, and that's really a lot. So what about this so-called Vario Flex system, which you can go optionally for? In that way, and this is, one of the most spectacular features of this vehicle, you can flip the seat forward. Actually, you can do that with all three seats, like this, with, the same with this seat. And then you can release those red levers in the lower part, and then you can actually directly take out the seat. So that's it. Then you can put it somewhere and you have some more room. However, it's also possible to do another setup, because if we just remove the middle part here, it's a little bit tricky right now. Let's see, like this and this. There we go. It is somewhat heavy, so better to do it with two people, or if you're not holding a microphone, for example, that's also an advantage, definitely. So, and then you see we have even more space right here. And the funny thing now is, well, I could actually demount the third seat, but there's also another possibility. If I flip it up as well, like this, and then I unleash it at the lower part, so, and then I can actually move the seat more inward, because we now basically have two single seats. They are a little bit more inward. That means I have more shoulder room now on both sides, actually. Also, you can see that, the seats, they have some distance to the outside of the inside of the vehicle then. And of course here, you can just move around more freely. That's a big advantage, and if you're traveling with four people and you don't really need a middle seat, then I think it's a really nice option. You can also reach better through, for example, through the luggage compartment, for example. So to have this option, actually, great stuff. Isofix, by the way, on the outer seats. So you could also use this, for example, for two child seats, and also as a parent, you are able to move around more freely here in the rear, also installing child seats, putting them out again, and so on. And now to the normal setup back again for the rear compartment. This is when everything is back to the standard. Knee room, still some left if you have four adults here. Then solid door handles and a solid door closing sound. Inside of the doors, nice build quality, soft material right here. Then this aluminum look. Here the Canton audio sound system, pretty good sound as well. Then there's a lot of room on the inside of the doors, also for example for bigger bottles. And there's a steering wheel, easy design. This one should be a little bit better from a build quality, because you could push it inward a little bit. I realized while driving, it's fixed on the right part, but maybe the very early models, they should check that again. Everything else is really good from the building process. Then memory seats,
3 different functions. Those ones are the optional Alcantara seats, Alcantara on the inside, and unfortunately here already in the Alcantara combination, the inside is microfiber and the outside, I just talked to the interior designer, is from real animal skin leather. Has no real reason, and the back part of the seat then is from leatherette. I'm not really sure why they didn't put also leatherette on the outside. It's a wrong choice, that's for sure. Seat does it differently, by the way, so I can really recommend only the full fabric seat option. So the cockpit overview, everything is pretty clean. The middle part is really powerful. You have this kind of power dome above the infotainment system, soft touch material. Below that, the climate unit, still a classic way to do it, all manual. And you have to reach down quite far, but it is, not placed like this, but a little bit shallow. You can easily reach that. Infotainment systems, by the way, available 6.5, 8-inch, and here then 9.2, the top one. Also then including the live navigation. Soon more to that. Other than that, we have a glove box right there. You can press this one, normal size. Can also be cooled. Here we have the 1.5 liter TSI Evo, a new engine in the Volkswagen AG, 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, 1.5 liters of displacement, 150 horsepower, and with cylinder on demand technology, actually the engine I would also go for in this vehicle. There's also an entry petrol engine available, 1 liter 3-cylinder, 115 horsepower, starting with front wheel drive and manual hand drive, optionally also available with DSG. This one here is available both front wheel drive, manual hand drive, but also with the automatic gearbox, and also available with all-wheel drive. Then there's diesel side, 1.6 liter diesel, 115 horsepower, and a 2 liter diesel with 150 horsepower or 190 horsepower. The top one always combined with DSG and all-wheel drive. In general, almost for every engine you can really pick between, real hand shifting, DSG dual clutch transmission, and also front wheel drive, all-wheel drive. So you have a lot of variation, although there are not so many different engines. But I always am wondered, why would the manufacturer offer sometimes we see 15 different engines. I think that's just a little bit too much. So I think it's okay if they keep it at a rather basic level. And consumption, you can bring it to 6 liters on 100 kilometers. In our driving part, I'll start with about 7, but later on I can tell you already so far I could bring it down to even 5.9. So this one here really leaves the possibility to go for the petrol engine, have a low consumption, and you do not need a diesel then. And now to the driving part. And you might wonder, what is Thomas doing there? Is he testing the autopilot? Well, this is the test of some of the assistance systems. You can see there's an active lane keeping assist you can actually get. Of course, this was just for demonstration purposes. Please do not repeat, because if I would keep my hands on the steering wheel, I could not really show you what the car is doing. But the system, how it's meant to work, you have to keep your hands at the steering wheel, but then you're still assisted a little bit, and you do not have to, not pay less attention, but you can be a little bit relieved, less stressful, work on your karma, then you can just, keep onto the steering wheel not so tight and let the assistance systems help you. Also, I have the cruise control running, the adaptive cruise control, which is also available for this vehicle. And that's definitely also a very relaxing feature. So we're starting here with the motorway driving, and one thing I directly realized, it is really silent in here. So they have prepared a very good sound insulation for us. 80 kilometers an hour at the moment, and you hardly hear anything from outside. Although there are pretty strong winds today here. What else do we have in the setup for this vehicle? We have the normal suspension, which I found very important to test, because not everyone will actually go for the optional DCC, the dynamic chassis control,
well, a beautiful landscape here also on Sicily. And then it's always nice to tell you, what about the standard suspension? And it has basically a soft setup, so the vehicle is not too sporty. However, all of the SUVs from the Volkswagen corporation, or the AG, like Volkswagen, Skoda, Seat, Porsche of course, also Audi, they usually tend to be a little bit sporty, a little bit stiffer in the suspension setup than, for example, the Japanese manufacturer. And again, this is not something about good and bad, it's just something about, you know, what you actually prefer. When I'm doing some slalom here at a little higher speed, you see and maybe feel, that's the only thing I do, but you can see there's a little tilting of the vehicle. So this is also due to the standard suspension. It is sporty enough in a way that you can still have fun with the vehicle, also because it's compact enough. However, if you want it a little bit sportier, then you have to go for the DCC, that you can also set the sport mode, and then it would be a little bit stiffer from suspension. Also, the DCC helps you in the normal driving mode, that it's a little bit better against potholes. So when we're going over some potholes, we just passed some, it's not entirely bad, but when we tested similar vehicles, also for example, you know, the Skoda Octavia without and with the DCC, it's not an option where we would say you need it, otherwise you are not able to live with this car. There's a white Karoq now here. But if you want some more comfort on the one hand, and on the other hand want to preserve the possibility to have a sportier ride, then it would be wise to go for the DCC to spend the money on it. I'm always someone who says, let's give you a realistic view on the car, not with every feature. Too bad, it's not always possible. Manufacturers always want to put everything in the car to show off. But then I'm always dissecting the vehicles and telling you, you know, you can save money by that and this, you know, because not everyone wants to spend so much money just on the car. And this is also something you can also definitely live with a standard suspension. It's perfectly fine. The question is just, if you have some spare money, then the DCC is surely a useful option, but not a total must-have. Here now, cruising at 100 kilometers an hour. Again, I can stress it's really silent in here. Also, if you compare it to other competitors in this segment, this one is surely among the leading ones as for the sound insulation. The steering, it's, you know, in the top few angles here, it's a little bit numb, a little bit soft. Then it increases a little bit. However, later on we will also give you a little more agile riding as well. Then I can talk more about the steering characteristics. In general, this steering is rather set up that you don't have any problems when parking in and out. It's really easy to steer. You do not need any power to use that one. Mainly also sought for the city. To me, it's a little bit, you know, of a... Whoa, what the hell? Have you seen that, guys? I mean, I'm 100, this is a given speed, I'm on the right lane, and then this freak was like on my lane, although overtaking me. It's like, well, okay, nothing happened. Back to our review. As always, Autogefühl live on tape for you, to give to you the most authentic impressions, and you know, then also interesting things can happen from time to time. This is a driving review of VW's latest small SUV, the VW Taigo. What is it and what can it do? Let's find out. Let's go. Thomas here with Autogefühl, and the VW Taigo is actually a sister model of the VW Nivus that has already been sold in South America. They differ a little bit in some aspects, but they also have some same parts, of course. Here in the front you can see a modern design, honeycomb style in this style trim level car, because this trim level is called style. There's also an R line available with a little sporty look. We had that in our studio episode in red. This color here today is called Visual Green. It is visual for sure. Headlamps come standard with LED, optional the IQ light, so matrix LED is even available here for this very segment. And depending on which trim you pick, it starts below 20,000 euros in Germany. If you go, higher trim, all the options and so on, biggest engine and so on, then you can land up something below 30,000 euros. So indeed, this is rather a car from the lineup which is more affordable. The length is at 4 meters 27 or 168 inches. So that means 17 centimeters or 7 inches longer than the VW T-Cross. It's also a small SUV. And as for the seating position, this one here sits between Polo and T-Cross. So it's Polo, Taigo, T-Cross, as how high you go. So is it more crossover? Is it already an SUV? I'll leave that up to you. I would rather say crossover, right? Here also with crossover wheel arches, 17 to 19 inch wheels. These here are the biggest 19 inch wheels and style trim level, but you can also get here this black contrast here, for example, and also then the roof in black, and really some fresh, interesting colors. This color indeed is interesting. As for show off, it's nice. For everyday driving, maybe something else. And here you have this rather falling roofline, giving it more kind of like a already SUV coupe shape. MQB A0 is the platform. Again, that means sharing it with the Polo and the T-Cross both, and also with the Skoda and Seat siblings in this very segment. Here, modern light strip all the way across the vehicle, very beautiful and elegant design, and more crossover look in the lower part. And yeah, glad to find no fake exhaust here, but on the R-Line model, there the Autogefühl fake exhaust police had a major job. This is the car key, one of the classic ones, and yeah, good to have that one. Door closing sound. Okay, heard it better, but also heard it worse. Here at the inside of the doors, this is sadly hardback, and then, wow, this fitting to the exterior color, that interior. It's a really great idea. It's not my favorite color, but it's a great idea to have the fitting interior to the exterior. However, you can also go for a more subtle interior style. And I think these seats look really great. And again, if you want it more subtle, more on the black style, it's also available for the style trim. You can go for 3 different color options for the seats. The seats themselves, they already look comfortable, and I think a beautiful job they've done here with the fabric and also with the bright leather red. Steering wheel looks modern and fresh, and at the same time you still have the hard buttons here, left side for the cruise control and right side then to control the digital instruments. Good they kept it with that. It's a small vehicle, but already offers you a very decent seating comfort, so that's the one thing I appreciate almost most. So especially here in these seats, the base seats are a little bit, less sophisticated, but they here are actually a little bit better already, and they've got side bolstering, and you feel like you would be in a bigger vehicle. And considering my size, 1m86, 6'1", still enough headroom left. And once again, for such a size, rather small vehicle, great seating comfort. Interior overview with a simple layout. Steering wheel, by the way, up, down, in, out, easy process. Left side, you get 2 sizes of digital instruments. That's a little bit confusing actually. So it starts here with 8-inch and then optional 10.25 inch. And on the right side, 6.5, 8-inch, and then here the 9.2 inch, the biggest one. This one does not have any buttons left. The 8-inch one would have the volume knob and the zoom in, zoom out knob, so I would rather stick with the 8-inch one then. Once again, here this green decal element, you can also get it in the more subtle style that's possible. Infotainment system, this is the Apple CarPlay integration. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay both, also wireless connection is possible. And also for the smaller screen, you can also get CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, by the way. Here, 300-watt Beats sound system is, really nice. So I think really good performance here for a sound system in a small vehicle. Then this is the main menu. Gladly, it's not the system you get in the VW Golf or in the ID3. This is a different one. It's a better one. It's not the best one. You see here, the map could also be more responsive, but overall, the overview of the whole menu structure and so on is more
what you are used to from Volkswagen vehicles, and therefore it's definitely easier and simpler. When you have the 9.2 CPU, by the way, from this biggest touchscreen. Oh, by the way, you can see here, the right one does not flick on camera, the left one does, but on the human eye, nothing flickers. So here, you can have the map both in the right and in the left side simultaneously. Not possible if you have the 8-inch screen on the right. Here we are with the digital instruments. This is the map view, but you can also have it full screen, that's possible. Or then rather, the classic views and also have other contents in the middle. In the lower part here, this climate unit is with the sliders. This is a Climatronic. This is an option. You do not have to go for it. It looks fancy for a capacitive BS unit. Hashtag capacitive BS. It's quite okay, but stick with the base function, then you still have the real dials, so they are a more clever choice. 2 USB-C chargers in lower part, also inductive charging pad, by the way. And then we have this massive shifting lever here for the DSG, standard here for the 1.5 engine, but it's actually good. You have a very good feedback, and it looks actually also quite modern, and why not having something you can really touch? And then your 2 cup holders, they are not adaptive though. And then the armrest, very well attached, nice leather red cover, and underneath some more space. As for rear seating, well, they are using all the space they have, and when I would go a little bit more forward with the seats, I could also sit here, but yeah, when you have tall adults in the front, it gets close here. The back part of the seat is soft, however, but again, from the length there, it's just close because it's a small segment. Headroom-wise, however, is actually good, so they are using the space they have. It's just that the length does limit it at some point. 2 USB-C chargers here in the rear, by the way. In the middle part with the middle tunnel, you can hardly sit there. But what's really cool is that they also have the same seat setup here, so very high class as for the materials they use here for the whole fabrics and leatherette and so on. Now to the trunk area, which houses 438 liters. You can see here, really square dimensions, easily fits the cabin trolley in, also here in the vertical way. Just as a proof, here, no problem at all. So that's really good. For most of the recent VW reviews, I've been hating about the infotainment system, and I would still do that. But here, I can just praise again how practical this car is. 1 meter or 40 inches in width. Then here, the length, about 82 centimeters or 32 inches. And then here, the height to the cover is 40 centimeters or 16 inches. And here, this is a really practical solution here. When you put this one here up, it holds tight like this. This is the replacement tire underneath. And they really have used this space very, very well. You can also fold the seats, and then you have even more space. And like this, and like this. Well, once again, price, performance, and also the space you get, really very good. And the length to the seat as I'm driving, 1 meter 55 in total, or 61 inches. As for engines, we have the 1.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol with 150 horsepower, always connected to the 7-speed DSG dual clutch transmission. Cheaper entry versions work with the 1 liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine with 95 horsepower or 110 horsepower. The latter one then again optional with the DSG. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the VW Taigo 1.5 TSI. Let's put to that sports mode, see how this 150 horsepower can bring us on that German motorway from 45 kilometers an hour. Let's go. ...150 kilometers an hour. Yeah, I think that's shabby enough for this one. Racing with the Taigo. Yay! Well, not too bad at acceleration. Of course, wind noise picking up right now, but considering for this segment, it's also not too bad. Here, also quite stable on the road. So this is suspension here is not adaptive in this segment here, not available. But still, good compromise. It feels very nice and agile on the road. Steering is crisp and agile, and also has no dead zone area or something. And let's put to a normal autobahn speed. Let's say like 120 kilometers an hour, like 70 miles an hour. Here also wind noise are somewhat okay. Of course, you have to consider the price and the segment. And it's really not an expensive vehicle. That's the good thing for that. And for that,
even here the performance at high speed is really, really good. So that's one first nice aspect definitely about it. Also very good at how we can tune the brakes. Once again, going left and right. Very likable steering, and also with this new modern steering layout, that's good. And we still have the real hard buttons. That's also a good thing to have. For example, when I set the cruise control right here, I can set it here in the 1 kilometer steps or here in 10 kilometer steps with plus and minus. So easy to control. That's what we know actually still from Volkswagen. And yeah, the climate unit, you know, you don't have to go for the climatronic option as I told you in the interior parts, so stick with the base manual dials and then you'll also be fine off with that. Well, interior wise, not too much as for, you know, ambient lighting, a little bit here and here, but again, considering the segment, and also here for example, so a subtle note, I think that's overall good. And here with the digital instruments, this top setup here, I also have a good visualization and see what I'm actually doing here at the moment and now at 80 kilometers an hour. So motorway vehicle, although it's a rather small vehicle, good comfort also to this upper seating position, and also very good as for the overall seat ergonomics. So indeed, much you get here for, you know, not too much money, and also, you know, it's not much of a car, but you still get much of a car for it. Do you know what I mean? So that's from the motorway perspective. But what about the more agile driving performance? Let's find out more about that. Last comment here, assistance system, we also have a blind spot monitor. Well, we were too fast, no one overtook us yet, but it will be displayed here in the side mirror. So assistance systems wise, everything is working flawlessly as well. There it is, because the other car was approaching. Yes, still managed to show that. Now to some more agile driving. Fuel economy, by the way, something between 6 and 7 liters on 100 kilometers. So that's US MPG, some high 30s, and UK MPG more than 40, so 45 or something. Okay, acceptable, not too good, also not too bad, but for a vehicle of that size, should be a little bit better. Now we have here windy roads, and they are also a little bit wet. You can see here, steering wheel actually still a good feeling. It's front wheel drive only, so maybe also heard that here in the sport mode, where the RPMs are also a little bit pumped up, so when it's wet and you hammer the throttle, then you also have some traction loss in the front. But it's not that the car would get out of control or something. The ESC is controlling that very well. See here also in the S shifting mode, where the gears are turned up later and shifted down earlier. Very smooth, very nice. Here I had to correct a little bit due to that wheel spin, but not too much. So overall a very likable and agile driving feeling. This is a very cool thing. You sit rather upright in comparison to a normal small vehicle here in this crossover style, or already SUV style, however you want to call it. Again, sitting between Polo and T-Cross height-wise, but already a lot of fun. So yes, also driving-wise, we can prove the initial point that this is one of the rare cars here on the market still, where you get actually a lot what you've paid for. This is also driving-wise one of the very, very cool things.
Skoda Kamiq. In the front you can see it has this crossover SUV look, then with those very slim headlamps, but the real happening jewel is here, the main headlamp unit. The top part is the LED daytime running light, and also the normal headlamp unit comes with LED as standard. That's also quite rare in this segment. 4.24 meters, 13'9" or 167 inches is the length of the Skoda Kamiq. As I said earlier, it's the length of a Volkswagen Golf. Pretty interesting that they can build this one then, but still on this very small platform. Then wheels come from 16 to 18 inch. Those ones are in the middle, 17 inch, so it's a quite good pick between design and still having some comfort. In the rear you have a typical hatch design of a Volkswagen AG MQB car, but then they have also special tail lamps right there, and they also come LED standard, as I said earlier. And I'm glad, in the lower part, this is a very interesting design. Yes, there is a hole, but I wouldn't call that this one is still like a fake exhaust design. I'm glad they did not go for fake exhaust. And today we have a 1-liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine, the 1-liter TSI. This one then
either with 95 or with 115 horsepower, the latter one today. It starts with manual hand drive and an optional DSG for the stronger horsepower version, today also with the DSG. Then there will also be a 1.5 TSI 4-cylinder, 150 horsepower, also optional with DSG. And then 1.6 diesel TDI, 115 horsepower, also optional DSG. And a 1 liter G-Tech, so a CNG engine, 90 horsepower. That one then only with manual. So the true only manual engines will be the CNG one and the smallest petrol engine. All others then optional with this dual clutch transmission, the 7-speed version. And 6-speed when you have manual gearbox. And again, front-wheel drive only for this vehicle. So, yeah, I mean, it's an SUV. It's not thought out to be driving off-road. But, well, there's an underfloor cover, underbody cover available. Like this, put your hand on the outside, right there. Also, the mirror flips in. On the inside, it flips out. Again, yeah, there we go. And door closing sound. Doesn't sound too good, but one of the reasons is also that here we also have those door protectors, which are then also creating a sound on their own. But of course, they are a very cool solution to protect any scratches to the doors for you and also for others, of course, both front and rear doors. And then, what is cool with this car is it receives exclusive materials. Quite often so far, the Skoda cars were, for example, less equipped than the VW pendant or something like that. But here, this is a soft touch material at the top of the door, and it has a nice structure, like a premium structure in it. So this is very good from the look and feel we see here. And also everything we can touch here, galvanized background right there. So very nicely done. Then this is like Golf style, and then also reasonable space for bottles on the inside of the doors. This optional sound system here, by the way, is, didn't attract too much of my attention, honestly. Tested the sound earlier. Then the rest of the interior, also pretty cool as for build quality, because you have the structure here, soft touch. This one here is soft touch. You get different decor elements. This one has the dynamic package, also has the perforated steering wheel and those sport seats. You get very nice basic fabric seats, where you can also flip the co-driver seat and complete it to the front. More about that later. And then this one here is the optional sport seat with some Alcantara at the inside there, and the rest is pure fabric then, integrated head restraint, and it's very interesting. It's great visually and also a nice animal-friendly solution, so good offerings they do have here for us today. What about the comfort? Because I did test this vehicle also in Geneva, both with the normal seat and with the sport seats, and I can say both are good, yes. But if you're taller, the sport seat is somewhat cool because it's just a little bit wider in general. At the same time, it does offer you more shoulder support, especially in the upper area. So for tall people, on the long run, definitely sport seats are recommended. And wow, I mean, this is a nice upright seating position, so also more comfortable than the Skoda Scala, for example. And yeah, really cool. It feels like a more evolved, like a bigger car, especially when you have those sport seats and the sports package right there. I'm 1m86 or 6'1". If you haven't subscribed, do so, please. Leaves a lot of headroom, so you have massive amounts of space, also shoulder-wise. Now to the interior overview, and wow, the look and feel is just amazing. It's really like a premium, like an expensive premium vehicle. Of course, optional equipment, analog instruments are base. Those ones optional 10.25-inch virtual instruments. Then here on the right side, you start with a 6.5-inch small screen. The next one is 8-inch, a little bigger, and this one is the all the way full glory 9.2-inch screen, the Amundsen. This one then without any buttons, so you might, you also have like the gesture function, but yeah, it doesn't seem to work at the moment. Well, where is the sensor? I don't know, whatever. Usually when the hand is displayed here, it also has a gesture function. But the 8-inch could also be nice, because then you would still have a knob like for zooming in the navigation, or for the sound here you have to go like here plus and minus. Well, but there are a lot of great things here with the car. For example, also this premium structure here on the top of the dashboard. Then there's still a manual AC unit. However, for the temperature right and left, if you go for the vent strength, I mean, why didn't they just put like, plus and minus here as it was used to be? No, you can just put it off, and then you have to hit menu and then go for vent strength here in the screen. Not sure if that's the best solution for that. And in the rear, we also have those door protectors right there. Magic. Well, and then first look at the interior right there. So you have the same sporty layout, also with this quilted structure at the seats. If you take a look at them a little bit closer, right down here,
Here this quilting on the inside, you also have that even with the rear seats. That's pretty cool as for the design element. Then you also have the structured inner door, but this is then hardback, but it looks good because it has this structure. And when I now get inside, as I have the seat in the front, said, well, the sport seat does cost you some legroom because they are thicker. So the normal seat will give you a little bit more legroom, but still, there's plenty of legroom left, and this is not a long car. So a very good package, and it's so roomy also here in the rear. Then again, headroom, pretty much still left. Option, you can also get a panoramic roof, which has a shade, but it just has the shade, and then it's a fixed glass roof. So advantage, it does not cost you any headroom. At the same time, you cannot open it. So, but this car here does not have the panoramic roof, and you have a very comfortable and nice upright seating position here in the rear, so I can even recommend this as a travel car for 4 adults. Very interesting. Well, what about this middle seat? Oh, Holger has set the co-driver seat pretty much far to the rear. Well, the middle part here in the sporty setup is a little bit stiff, so yeah, headroom-wise it still works, but this car is more set out that you sit on the outside parts each. This is maybe a little bit better when you go for the base bench, the non-sports bench, when you want to use the middle seat. Other than that, there's ISOFIX at the outside of the seats each. You can flip the seats from here actually like this. And, yeah, don't want to squish the seat belt. And then in the middle part you have some cup holders, but they're not adaptive. And last but not least, in this lower middle console, you have even seat heating for the rear. This car offers a heating overall, so to say. You get the steering wheel heating, front windshield heating, front seat and rear seat heating. Will be powered, of course, when the car is on. And then 2 USB-C ports, also available for the lower end. Rarely for a car in this smaller platform, you get electric hatch. So, but this is an option, a very interesting one, definitely. And wow, you have a lot of space in the trunk. 400 liters up to 1,400 when you flip the seats. You see you have a lot of space right here. When I put a backpack right in here, and I can see the dimensions a little bit better. The lower part here is just a rubber floor mat. It's an option. You can get this. And yeah, then another from those features here. You got a retractable torch. You can use it as a normal torch then as well. But it also serves as the normal backlight. And the top part here is a net from underneath. It's also an interesting idea. 12-volt power supply is also available. And the normal measures here in length. Whoops. This one here is just over 70 centimeters in length and about just slightly less than a meter in width. And we can also flip those seats, but you have to go around for that, like this. Then you can see there's no even cover to be able to use all the liter space, all the liter capacity of the trunk, and therefore you then also have this step right there. And the final detail for today, yes, at the inside of the doors, there we go, an umbrella, Rolls-Royce style. And whoa! In this case it's rather against the sun, I would say. Otherwise against rain. It's just on the driver's door, by the way, not on the co-driver's door, but I hope one will be enough. So if you're with 2, then just hug.
If you're a gentleman?
If you're a gentleman, yes, Holger, yeah. But we are, aren't we? Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge with the Skoda Kamiq, and we start here with some winding roads because that's of course always very interesting. And we also have the so what sports version of this car here, not exactly with the engine but with the sports chassis and also with a sportier styling. Of course this car is not predominantly set out to be sporty at all. But let's see. So 1 liter TSI, turbo petrol engine, only 3 cylinders. But here in the higher horsepower spec, 115 horsepower. And as long as I stay in normal mode, the suspension also stays normal. And also the shifting, so the engine itself stays relatively calm and silent. This sports chassis is already, said earlier, a centimeter lower than the normal one. And then of course it gets stiffer in this second suspension setting, so it's not an adaptive suspension here, just 2 settings you have. Steering is
quite light, so easy to control the car, but you still have, you know, some input. There is this, you know, this lane assist, which will be more helpful on a motorway later. It always gets activated when the car is, you know, realizing lanes, and also is realizing that, for example, on the right side there's no lane, but there's just green, but the car still does realize that. So that's well done. So the steering input is quite nice and also progressive, so you don't have to steer that much. You can see that in the corners now. So when I'm here, for example, is 90 degree left so far. So you see here, I also have to turn the steering wheel exactly 90 degrees. That's nice, and I can keep both hands at the steering wheel all the time, especially because we have the DSG automatic gearbox here, dual clutch transmission, which is very smooth in the shifting transitions. And at the moment, you know, keeping it rather slow, then everything is very cozy and relaxed. And you can, when you keep it rather slow, score some 6 liters on 100 kilometers, especially when later on motorway driving cruise control, that's about 39 mpg, 47 mpg UK. That's, you know, somewhat good, yeah? And then you can always use the shifting pedals here to shift back, so go a gear lower, and then you can also tune up this 3-cylinder engine. It always has a very interesting sound. It sounds more voluminous than the 4-cylinder, strangely. So that's very interesting. And you can also shift up right here with the shifting pedals. An alternative would be to change the driving mode to sport, right here. Then the gears are turned up higher anyway by the automatic gearbox. So goes a gear lower, and that's of course very helpful now for those winding roads right here. So I think I'll stick with that one. In the sports mode, if you have the sport suspension, then also the suspension is a little bit stiffer, and I feel it when there are some bumps in the road. Of course, it's somewhat helpful here to drive with it in those winding roads, and as long as the roads are good. But again, you lose comfort in some potholes. You have to be aware of that. Is it a must-go option in this car? Definitely not. I think you can definitely save the money for that, unless you are very, you know, sporty driver and always, you know, always like to enjoy sporty driving or something like that. But maybe that's not the proper car then for you anyway. So yeah, but I mean, it's somewhat okay. In the VW Polo, for example, I found it less comfortable with this suspension. It's the same suspension setup basically. I mean, like the same technology, but maybe they put a little bit softer overall here, something like that. Maybe that's the difference, or maybe just because of the size of the car and wheelbase or something like that. That could be a difference then. But other than that, it's still decently comfortable. Yes, that's okay. But you just have to be, you know, aware that it's a small change then when there's some potholes in the road. So I feel that I don't need this additional stiffness in this vehicle. I'm also just fine with the normal driving mode, definitely. Best thing is really that the steering is progressive, that you can ease through those corners. And so yes, although it's not a car where you look at it from the outside and say, oh, that's a super emotional car and so on, it is still a lot of fun to drive it. Especially on the route Ecret. This is a very famous route here in, you know, this border region, France, Germany, Switzerland. So pretty cool, pretty amazing. We've been here a couple of times with Autogefühl, also with different cars. At the moment still through the forests, and then the upper regions are even more impressive landscape-wise. So, and back to the normal mode. So I have then some more comfort, definitely from suspension. I do prefer that even here in those winding corners, actually. So, because even in the non-sport setting, the car is not leaning much towards the, you know, towards the outside of the corners.
So first of all, now to the individual pairs. Tiguan versus Kodiaq. Here, I would actually go for the Kodiaq because it's just more versatile, has more space on the inside. Might be different later on when the T-Roc arrives. Passat versus Superb. I would actually pick either of these, so I'm really happy with both. However, the Skoda Superb has a better user interface with these manual climate knobs in the lower parts, so I actually prefer that one. So maybe I would lean a little bit to the Superb, but I would just compare the individual prices then, or the offers. Golf versus Octavia. So this is very interesting. I feel the Golf is a little bit more refined and higher speeds as with the wind noise and so on. Then again, the Skoda Octavia has more clever package solutions. Remember that you have to compare the Golf variant rather as for the interior space directly to the Octavia. The Octavia, of course, offers the alternative that you have this one as a fastback sedan. So here's more the question which body type you actually want to have. Then the T-Roc versus the Karoq. Here I feel the T-Roc is very good in driving and handling. However, the Karoq has great interior solutions like these seats that you can remove the inside one and then move the outside ones a little bit to the middle, that you have kind of like captain seats. That was really cool. Then Taigo or T-Cross versus the Kamiq. Yeah, this is also coming very, very close. Probably I would rather lean to one of the VW types there. Overall, I feel, yes, Skoda has a better user interface most of the time, and they have more clever storage or space solutions. In general, most of their vehicles do offer a little bit more space. So I do at this moment see the advantage rather with Skoda. Sometimes the VW models have maybe a little bit better noise insulation. It really depends. But overall, it seems to be that Skoda delivers more value for the money. And of course, as they all always come very close and they do sit on the very same platform, it is also in a way an advantage for the customer, because you can just compare these vehicles and maybe get a quote from both dealers of both brands and then just pick the cheaper one because they are close in all the different aspects and so on. Oh yes, of course, and the overall winner, which one would I actually pick personally? I really love the riding quality, the driving comfort both of the Passat and the Superb, so I would actually prefer one of these. I wouldn't care that much actually. I would just pick one which I can get cheaper at the dealer, maybe at the leasing rate or something like that. As I said, a little notch maybe to the Superb because of the better user interface, but then again I was really happy with both, and they also have a better drive quality, for example, than Tiguan and Kodiaq, so this lower sitting together with the new DCC Pro was really convincing. Still want to hear your opinion. Which one do you find best? Tell me in the comments and join us for more comparison episodes.